Not black, nor do I consider myself to be black. Many people mistake me for being Negro because they don't know that I am currently living with the heartbreak of vitiligo. That's a skin condition that's the opposite of what Michael Jackson's got. I'm not black, nor do I consider. I'm not black. I'm not black, nor do I consider.
Tell you she's tough. Nothing I can't handle.
Who the hell is this?
I get it. I was a little girl once too.
I thought you were ever little. Hell, I thought you were ever even a girl.
What is your problem?
Alice, next.
I think you just need some extra attention, Alice. Someone keep their eyes on you.
You can keep your eyes on me.
Yo, what's up?
You live around here?
It's about a 20-minute drive.
Man, it is so hot in here right now.
Have you ever met someone and instantly knew that you were going to spend the rest of your life avoiding them?
Haha. know that cake. That cupcake was good as shit. There's so much damn icing in it though. Alright, that was delicious. That's me. Okay.
You can surf without getting fish. There's no place like Chrome.
Yo, yo. What the hell, man?
Taking the stage on karaoke night takes confidence. But it's hard to feel confident when you apply for a credit card. With Karma Confidence technology, you can be more confident in your chance of approval for a great credit card before you even apply. Create your own karma with Credit Karma.
Not African at all, actually Native Americans, because the slave trade did not happen the way in the slave trade. And he's done some remarkable videos on the history of this.
Look, show my people where to get it from, where to hit it from, all sorts of angles. When it comes to this research, you must please first, don't trust strangers. Find out all on your own is what I highly recommend and suggest. And if you're looking for uncensored content by me, I highly recommend you the best, which is my website at the link you see just across the screen. Don't let it miss you, I make it simple. I double down on that black and white, it's too official.
Yo, free thinkers, you're now tuned into the realest historian on the planet.
Brother, he is raising some serious questions.
He's here to make you think.
What I'm trying to do is get our people to understand that we have been lied to all the way around about our history. Can you name any other group of people, no matter their skin complexion, that are being labeled primarily as the name of two continents? Not two countries, two continents. That is called a misnomer, which is the act of applying a wrong name to some person or thing.
The best teacher you wished you had in school. Have your pens and paper handy and get ready to take notes.
I want y'all to check out somebody named Dane Calloway. Dane Calloway? Look into Dane Calloway. He has a lot of information about how this whole shit was told in reverse. Okay? Where they say, oh, we came from Africa over here. No, a lot of us was already here.
Information that was put together by a man by the name of Dane Calloway, who is also questioning the slave trade. He's done some remarkable videos on the history of the slave trade in the United States. And he's gone back down the food chain and gone back down the line, and he's realized that a lot of the so-called African Americans in the United States are not African at all, they're actually Native Americans, because the slave trade did not happen the way we were told that it happened.
It's Dane Calloway.
Dane Calloway. Go and watch this man's channel, man. This dude is phenomenal, and he don't get the accolade and his flowers right now. You know what I'm saying? Because this dude gives some powerful information, some common sense. Go dig deep and research. Maybe even have to spend a couple dollars on research if you truth seeking, not fact checking, truth seeking, because there's a difference.
It's Dane Calloway on I'm Just Here to Make You Think Radio.
Okay. I may change that. I was just sitting up here looking at it. What you guys think about that? Shout out to Dr. Dave. You might hear him on all the radio stations. Thank you for doing me a favor, brother. I appreciate you. But yeah, I haven't been asleep. I'm gonna be honest, guys. I have not been asleep. I've been up all night working. So if I sound tired or not as energetic, that's the reason why. And I said, you know, before I go take a nap, let me talk to you guys because it's, I mean, every time I'm trying to complete something, something else pops up. And I'm like, man, I want to talk to you guys about this. There's so much going on. And as far as our community sake is concerned, I don't see a lot of people talking about it. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that our people are not paying attention to things that would seem like it's about to take place. You know, there's some people out there that are out to do harm to us. And I mean, I'm talking about beyond the what you see on the news, beyond all of that. There's people out there, okay, that are out to do harm to us. And let's run it down, because if you're not aware of this, I want you guys to be aware that there's a strong possibility, okay, that some of the diesel trucks will be chopped in half as far as transporting a lot of our produce and goods due to the shortage of diesel fuel. I want to start with that one, guys, because that is very important, because not only will there be a shortage in a lot of your grocery stores, or a shortage for the trucks to bring the diesel fuel to the stations, but that will also mean that it will be a shortage in gas to gas your car. Now, of course, we know that they want to force, I mean, you can look this up. Everything that I'm stating today, guys, is no joke. Like, you can write this down and you can look this up. If you have not heard it, I'm telling you now, okay? Because a lot of this stuff is not being, I mean, it's being brushed upon by certain news stations, but it's not being expanded upon in full detail. That's a big start. That's a big start. That's a major start. They're stating that it's going to also hike up the prices between $8 to $10 per gallon on fuel. Now, I hope that that doesn't happen. That's a lot. Now, I mean, of course, we know that they're trying to force everybody to go electric once again, if I didn't already say that. But, I mean, damn. Like, I mean, really? You're going to go that route? You're going to go that far? And this is, you know, something I want you guys to notice. Oh, there's a shortage in Buffalo? Oh, now that Buffalo situation makes sense. Okay, yeah. Yeah, clearly. It was a distraction. Now, I'm actually glad that this person, LB, brought this up, because a lot of people misinterpreted me. I wasn't referring to the people who had, unfortunately, lost their lives, okay? We're not talking about if that was real or fake. We're talking about the situation, how that was staged to happen, okay? Now, if you don't understand that, I don't know how else I'm going to break it down to you, because there's so many of these instances where this, you would see, it's just, don't worry. I have more videos to come out where I could really break these type of things down to you without me losing my channel, okay? I'm going to show you. Be on the lookout. I'm going to show you. But, yeah. Let me go back a little bit. But yeah, it does make sense that it's in correlation. A lot of these situations are distractions. They're put in front of you in order order to distract you. But what I really want you to notice is how not only the Biden administration, but Congress just passed another I don't have that in front of me, but it was millions of dollars that they're going to hand over to Ukraine for assistance again. Now, all of a sudden, they got the money for that. You got all of this money for other people, and you're not taking care of home. Okay, now, guys, I cannot stress this issue enough. That does not make sense. And if that somehow makes sense to you, get off my channel, please. I'm gonna just keep it real. First thing, get off. Like, bye. Like, stop it. You giving them endless amounts of money. What have they done to deserve that? One, two, that's affecting more than what people think. You know, like regardless of what sanctions you're putting on these other places, you know, once again, it's still hurting our people in the long run. And that's the administration, not just Biden. That's the entire government, not just the administration. I mean, that's the Senate, that's everybody, that's all of them. That's all of them. They just passed this vote. This just happened, what, yesterday or day before yesterday? This just passed a whole nother set of money. People are saying 40 billion. See, once again, I don't have that in front of me, but if it was 40 billion, I mean, come on. What more do you guys need to see to know that we need to do this on our own? Okay? It's the same old thing. It's constantly happening in a cycle. But besides all of that, another thing that I want to point out, and I'm gonna have to choose my words wisely here. The Biden administration also did a switcheroo where they allowed the WHO, the World Health Organization, to have the power to create or to call for a medical federal emergency, similar to like a state emergency, at any time. At any time. Guys, listen, y'all. I need you to really understand what that means. Okay? I mean, that's like they could at any moment they could come up. Listen, let me use my words wisely here. They could say anything and shut everything down. The WHO can shut everything down. And that was the Biden administration that just handed them the power, guys. If you don't believe me, you can look it up. I mean, I could direct you to some. I was going to put it. All this stuff is happening back to back to back. That I was going to wait and, you know, put a video together about this particular part because it's so important, so I could put it on screen for you, and I may still, but I said let me get on here right now because it's on my heart to tell y'all that if you don't have a plan, you need to make one. You need to make one. Okay? Because once again, yeah, see, they talking about these, they're going to come up with whatever. They'll come up with whatever it is. It doesn't matter. They have the power just like they are the government now. And it overrides the Supreme Court. They got more power than the Supreme Court. And somebody said it in the chat that's taken, well, keep in mind, well, I know that's gonna move the conversation elsewhere, but your sovereignty has been gone once you signed up to become a citizen. Let me say it again. Your sovereignty is gone once you became a citizen. They started that as soon as you were born at the hospital. And your parents signed your birth certificate. That's where it starts. And that's where your sovereignty ends. Right there. This is the reason why I said, listen, we need to formulate our own rules and regulations here. And I'm not knocking you people out there that's in support of this government. Okay, I'm not going to knock. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. For what? Why are you in support of this government when this government is not supporting you? Unless you work for them. Now, that's something different. If you work for them, then that's probably the only reason why you would say that. But really, I'm talking about on equal ground, on equal footing. What has this government done? Out of all of pick one, out of all of these years that you can recall, where you were made aware about this government, y'all, the things that my wife and I have been working on, I'm talking about the videos that I put together when I'm in that voice when 1864 and 30, I swear that type of, the fire that we about to put out, I really need y'all to write down. This is going to be some, I don't know. I don't know how YouTube going to act. It's like that, okay? Hey, and I'm just going to let it fly. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm going to just let it fly because there's so much going on and you guys need to be made aware of what's going on. Okay, and what has been happening. And my wife and I have been cracking code after code after code. Y'all, I can't stress this enough. But yeah, I mean, I don't trust anything dealing with this government, guys. I really don't. If you would like to get with me and we have some conversations, you want to do something with yourself first, number one, and you want to do something with me and others, you know, as a group, we only need 13%. I'm not looking for everybody. Like, it's not just about having a conversation. It's about getting things done, going to the next step. If you're about that, then you can contact me. Do not contact, listen, don't contact me wasting time. Don't. We don't have that type of luxury here to waste time. That's not what this is about. If you're about getting lands back, yeah, I want us to fight for these lands, but we know who's in control of this stuff. And I don't see nothing wrong with buying land for the time being. At least you're having land. That's the whole point, is to have land. Because the land is the money. It's everything. You can take care of generations with land. Oh, and that's another thing with them. And see, that's another reason why we got to do something to prevent this. Because with the diesel trucks being so important, they also help the farmers. All of the supplies, guys, I don't know, man. That part right there, when I saw that, I said, oh no, that's shutting everything down. Everything. Now, I mean, it's not even 2030 yet. Okay? It's not even 2030 yet. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, I know they usually play by the numbers. I'm like, whoa, why are you going so early, you know? I'm like, it's not, let me get on here and tell y'all. You know, and I'm not trying to state no negative affirmations. I'm not that type of person. I just want you guys to be aware. Excuse me, I like to stay positive all the time, no matter what's going on around me. Okay? And I want to be positive with you all as well. But I do have to, unfortunately, break some things down, and it is negative, just to state it to you guys so you can be aware of it. But me personally, I want to cancel all of that. You know, like, I really don't like to speak about the negativity, but there's certain things that we have to be aware of in order for us to combat it. And then we have to talk about how we can combat it. I mean, because getting up and going out in the street and screaming and yelling, how many times have we done that before? Now, in the past, some of that worked. In the past. But I mean, take a look at any recent situation where somebody has either kneeled or they marched out in the street. Like, what rights did they, or anything? Okay, I mean, okay, all right, I'm not gonna be too rough right now. I'm just letting you know that that's not it. That's not it. That's not something that will, you know, to get the government to a point, well, we got to do something about it. The people are against it. And see, this is another reason why you know that we, the people, I'm not going I'm not going to go too far, but we, the people, it's all about the government. They're doing things to benefit themselves, not us. Okay, if anything, it will be them and larger corporations. That's it. In fact, it's only large corporations that's buying up this land. That's why I said I want to get with guys or gals. I want to get with you all. I want to get with the needy that's ready to buy land or want to do things to buy land. Invest. Instead of, and I mentioned that in the last video, instead of purchasing, you can buy land. If you can buy shoes, cars, there's no excuse. It's no excuse. In certain areas, lands are more expensive than others, but not all. And there's nothing wrong with traveling, okay? Don't turn your nose up to traveling. If you haven't been outside of your state, you should. You should. Every state is its own country. It's a brand new country. Every time I get out on the road to travel to a different state, yes, it's a different country. Things are different. I would love for you to see that. But that's a lot of land for sale. Okay, even though a lot of it, a good majority of land was bought up by some people that they will, deem as prominent figures that they're trying to put out in the forefront, that have their own agenda and is promoting their own propaganda. Let's be real here, including Disney. But that doesn't stop us from buying our own lands. And I mean that, because once we go for the land, the next step needs to be building an infrastructure there to a point where if we all do it individually, we could eventually turn that city into, or town into a city, and that city into a state. Okay, I mean, as far as size is concerned. But yeah, Bill Gates too, King Third. Yeah, a lot of them were buying up, I mean, all the way down to Bank of America. And I mean, I saw a bunch of them buying up land, but I mean, that should not stop us. That should not stop us at all. I really do think that should be the focus. But I want you guys to pay attention to the gas prices, the food shortages. I saw that they were all of a sudden short on baby formula, but then the Biden administration was handing it to incoming foreigners and their babies with no problem. So maybe that's the reason why there was a shortage, because that happened so quickly. I was like, nah, that just doesn't happen overnight, but it looked like it happened overnight. But that's true. You can look that up too. I'm not just stating it out of the side of my neck. Oh, the Biden administration got a lot of that baby formula and was handing it to the incoming immigrants. Excuse me. And the reason why I know that is because the Texas governor complained about that. In fact, in my last video, I showed you guys the article. I had it up on screen. It's to the right. I think near the end of the video, where I showed you the article about that particular topic. So if you want to go back and check that out, you can. Just pull that up and you'll be able to see that article, or simply Google it. I mean, I'm not sure how Google's acting on that, but that should pop up. But a lot of that baby formula was gone due to that. I mean, what other reason would the baby formula be gone? Like, other than that, I mean, what is it, a coincidence? At the same time he handed it to, no, I'm not falling for that. They doing a lot of things for these foreigners, or these immigrants rather, okay? And it's affecting us big time. And we just can't sit back and take this to the, like I said in the last video, we can't take white supremacy to the chin. Like, and when I told you what white supremacy is, and ain't nobody gonna tell you that, it's foreigner supremacy. I mean, straight up, they're putting the foreigners over everybody else. Straight up. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm not lying, and I showed you how. And I showed you how much they getting paid. And this happens year after year after year. So that's why I was like, what else? Like, what congressman, congresswoman that's, you know, a Niji that you're going to put in there that's going to get something done? Well, they got to scream to the top of their lungs just to get heard, number one. Number two, what could they do when they got to follow by the rules and regulations that the government already set forth? Biden came out of his own mouth and said, we the people. And we the people are the government. That's all they're for. So it's pointless. It's pointless. I'm trying to tell you, we need to set our own. Like, if you want to run for Congress, okay, why can't we set up our own? I mean, we don't have to sit back and wait on anybody. We can do it our way. It's a freedom to assemble. Not only assemble our own meetings, we could assemble our own congregations. I showed you this as well. We could assemble our own governments. There's no rule stating that we can't do this, guys. I wouldn't be on the internet saying this if this was against the law or I could get arrested or something. No, this is the real deal. This is the real deal. We could get this done. And I'm surprised that nobody else is talking about it, you know, that we would deem is up there in the upper echelons that is trying to get something done. And no, they're just out there promoting whatever they want to promote just for them to benefit for themselves, and that's it. They just keep it moving, right? We don't see any change. Like I said, it's a lot of political talk, but no change. That's the reason why I said all of the talks that I want to have with people, we're going to keep it short, but we're just going to state what it is, what we're going to do, and we just get straight to it. I don't want to do that right here. I don't have to have a clubhouse and everybody come on and we start talking, because that's a waste of time. We need to do things. We know what we need to do. We don't have to discuss that. Like, we don't have to. We know what we need. We know what we need to do. It's that simple. It's that easy. I have 3 videos out showing everybody how we can set up our own country. 4. Hold on. Excuse me. 4 videos out. And you know what YouTube did? Make sure y'all didn't see it. You know what I'm saying? I keep putting it out like, they need to see this. YouTube like, nah. I'm like, come on, man. Y'all need to see this. And people was turning their nose up. And that was matter of fact, one of them, I think part 2 was the one I was showing you how the government is still following by the Puritan way of life. All the Protestantism and stuff like that, I'm not going to go too far into that. They're still following up under religious beliefs right now in order to run the government. Okay? I mean, it's particular religious beliefs. It is plenty of denominations of Christianity, though, that are involved. Okay? Whether if you want to take that as a good or bad thing, that's up to you. I'm just letting you know that, yes, they are involved. Big time. So, it's a few things that we have to adjust. There's a few things that we have to adjust. But yeah, we only need 13% of our people, because a lot of other people, like that person right there in the chat that needs to get sniped, they're too stuck in their own mindset, too uncomfortable with stepping out of their comfort zone. We don't need people like that. Like, those are the type of people that will slow us up. we're trying to do more than just step forward. We're trying to jump forward. We've been waiting for a long time. We've been waiting for years. We can't wait no more. You know, our elders are getting older, and they like, well, go ahead, honey, go ahead. They telling us, go ahead and do what y'all gonna do. That our elders are getting older. It's our turn now. It's our turn now. And to change we can't continue this whole cycle again. We gotta stop it. We gotta do something. I know people was bringing that person up. I'm not familiar with who that guy is. You know, but shout out to him. I hope he does get his situation together. But yeah, I really do feel as though this is the time. Okay, when I calm down and I have conversations with myself, and then I invite my ancestors in and we talk about certain things, I know the time is now. Okay, I know the time is now. It's just a mental thing for a lot of our people to be accustomed to being adjusted. I'm gonna say it that way because I know they're not familiar with that because they've been so programmed, indoctrinated. You know, well, what's going? I mean, I'm talking about y'all. When we show y'all in these videos, what I mean. I mean, yeah, we didn't show you multiple other ways. It's, oh my God, that's all I'm gonna say. There's so many other things that you guys do not know. And it's right in front of your face. It shocked us. It shocked the hell out of us. And but it's things that we have to change. I'm just going to continuously put this information out. Just going to continue to put this information out the best way that I can. You know, I appreciate everybody that was listening. You know, I appreciate everybody that does pitch in as well and share the message. That's strong. Like I showed you in the last video that a young lady on my Twitter just so happened to see my logo on a television inside of, I'm not sure if it was a restaurant or a coffee shop, but it was on the news. Whatever the situation was, I was like, good, somebody at work listening to the message while the news was there. They ain't care. And I said, yes, that we do need that. We need a lot of this to spread out. Okay? Because our people are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I know they are because I can feel their pain. And I want to get things done, but I'm only one human being. We all do need to do it, but it's going to have to be a set group, which I said is the 13%, and then everybody else will follow suit. Because once again, the reason why is because there's too many people stuck within their old ways. And that's a distraction as well. And we can't have that. We can't have that. But I did give some good suggestions in the last videos of what you can do individually in order for you to get started. Just to brush up on those things is to start your own businesses. And speaking of which, if you guys have your business established right now and you would like for me to do some promotion on what it is, like if there's a product or something like that, like send that to my team's email as well. And make sure you're all the way right, like, you know, official with it. And, you know, if it's a product or something, I want to try it out before I start promoting it. You know, I don't even care if it's a t-shirt, you know, let me wear it first, you know what I'm saying? But I just want to make sure everything is okay. And then, yeah, I don't have no problem with supporting at all. When it comes to land, I highly suggest, like, if you're looking, it's the same way that you look for real estate. It's the same way that you look for an apartment for rent. You can look for land the exact same way. There's multiple sites out there where you can find plots of land for sale. Make sure it's for sale and not for rent. And then I want to, and it's up to you guys. Would you be interested in me creating some videos on going over how to establish your like a personal trust, and then how do you put your assets there, your property there? Would you guys be interested in that? Like I may even invite some people that we'll see. Hold on, let me not even say that. Let me see first. But if you guys are interested in that, let me know right now, and I'll make sure I'll add that to the schedule. Well, we'll have like a discussion like this. You could probably do it live, and I'll just have stuff up on screen, let you know what this is, what that is. Okay, good. All right, that's very good. Now, as far as buying land, I'm sure a lot of you should know how to do that. But as far as the trust and which type of trust you need, and I could break all that stuff down. I could be very informative, and I'm probably going to have to do it within. I'm probably going to need like an hour, 2 hours. So it's going to have to be a live stream because it's a lot. But at least it'll be still up on my channel where you could go back to it, take notes, do what you got to do. But that's good. If you guys are interested in that, I'll make sure that I implement that into the releases. And having nursing doctors, yeah, teachers, yeah, I agree. It is about building communities. I mean, this is what we had previously, guys. And I'm not going to bring up this situation, but I just want to use Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Greenwood District as an example. Everything in the Greenwood District we had, from grocery stores to you name it, all the way to coffee shops. We have to have that type of thing again. Now, and our dollar circulated amongst ourselves, and the government was jealous at that. But that should not deter us away from doing it again, because keep in mind, yes, it was more than one. Yes, that was during a time period where they were going through another so-called Great Depression. They wanted to revamp things, and they called it Reconstruction, and they wanted to implement their white supremacy and put themselves out there, and oh, no, that's okay. We're going to take care of all the foreigners that come over here. We're going to have you back. They just got jealous that we were capitalizing on this capitalist society, and we were very successful at doing it. But we could get back to doing that. That wasn't too far away. I mean, we talking 1920s. That's not too far away. Keep in mind, the Federal Reserve notes came in the 1930s, so that wasn't too far away. I'm just saying, we don't gotta wait on nobody. We got it right now, and like I told you, we don't need an army because we already have one. Our army is our money. It's our money. Rather, if you want to say the dollar bill or whatever, I'm talking about our funds. What we have, what we worked hard for, what we accumulated over time. This is the spending power that we already have. I'm talking about everybody is banking on us right now, from large, medium to small businesses, and they know it. Okay, and as soon as we pull a plug and say, they all gone. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts. But and that's what I think should happen. Once again, I know I said that in the last video. That should absolutely happen. Period. Stop dealing with them. Let me calm down. Stop dealing with them. Period. Stop dealing with them. We don't need them. We can work amongst ourselves and do it ourselves. So what? You're going to turn your nose up because it's, your friend or two may want a discount. And yeah, but stop dealing with your friend or two. Deal with people like how you deal with them white folks. Like strangers, okay? But it's a person of your complexion and within your neighborhood. What's up, neighbor? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't got, like, it can happen. It's not impossible because it happened before. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys, and that's what, I would consider myself preaching. I'm preaching that form of gospel. I'm letting you know, yes, we need to be segregated again because that's how we are going to excel. We don't need our noses and no foreign affairs, and they don't need to be in ours. We can do this because I know we can. You know we can. We surviving right now. We surviving right now without this government. I'm going to say that again. We surviving right now without this government. The only thing that's stopping us is us. We could do this. We can. And look, don't be the one to turn your nose up to segregation, because guess what? You didn't live during that time period to see how well we were prospering. But yeah, keep in mind there was an agenda in order for us to desegregate. There was an agenda that was set in place, and it was a political agenda. On top of that, I'm not going to go back into that. I know I will be here a whole hour explaining that. I already had this out for you to see in documentary format, so it won't be just me talking like this. But, you know, yes, I highly recommend that we need to be segregated again. We need to circulate our funds within our own neighborhoods, within our own neighborhoods, within our own cities, within our own towns. That's all a state is. It's a country. All of these states are owned by foreigners. And I bet you can't name one owner. And that's not fair. And all of these foreigners are the names of streets and places of business and foreigners. What did they do to deserve that? Well, all they had to do was be friends with another foreigner. I'm going to show you. Mark my words. All they had to do was be friends with another foreigner. I'm going to show you that in a larger scale, too. Especially this first one that's going to come out. This first video that's going to roll out. It's going to be a batch of them that my wife and I are putting out so you guys could... So you guys can catch up. And, oh, I can tell you this. We already talked about it. My wife and I, after a while of those videos floating, like however many it's going to be, my wife and I are going to get together and we're going to talk about them, break them down. That's going to be after a while. We're not going to flood you with a lot of information at one time. That's not how people learn. So we're going to give it time, and then we're going to come back and reach back to, you know, from the first one that's coming out and then onward to explain each one in detail again. And, oh, I didn't even say this, but yes, those that are asking, yes, 2 of my books are done. I'm rubbing my hands right now. 2 of my books are done, and I'm putting out the first one because I'm tired of y'all misinterpreting my words. So the first one that's coming out is going to be talking about the transatlantic slave trade, aka the Middle Passage. Okay? You got everything in there. Ain't gonna be no ifs, ands, or buts. Okay? I'm tired of reiterating myself. It's in the book. Like, it's in the book. Everything is there. What happens to our people from top to bottom? No excuse. You get it right in chapter 1 to all the way to the end. I'm not playing. But yeah, now my wife texted me. Okay, so I know that's my cue. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my tea. Go ahead out there, do my little walk around the neighborhood, come back up in here, take a shower. I'm gonna lay down, get right back up and go to work. So I'm gonna see y'all in the next video. Be looking out for it. It's gonna be a banger. Each and every one of these are gonna be bangers, guaranteed. I see you all soon. Thank you for checking it out. You all have a good one, and please stay aware. Be cognizant of everything. Stay aware. I love you. Wide up.
Where your shipping address types itself. Where all your tabs go, everywhere you go. Where you can surf without getting fished. There's no place like Chrome.
You're looking good right there. Okay. All right, so while this is starting up, I just want to welcome everybody. I really appreciate you guys. This is real quick. I'm probably not going to be, in fact, I'm not. I'm probably going to be talking about some things, but I'm not going to go over anything specifically because today is Dane Calloway's birthday. Today is Dane Calloway's birthday. So I'm going to quickly take a break. In fact, my break is not going to be long at all. Like, the only thing I'm going to probably be doing is hanging out with my children and my wife today, and that's mainly it. I'm getting right back to it. In fact, I should be posting up the newest videos that I've been working on starting tomorrow. It's either going to start tomorrow or Tuesday, and then we're going to go from there. But yep, today's my B-Day. I just wanted to come up in here and thank you guys, and thank you all for supporting me for over these years. And I mean, it's a crazy journey. I just really, really, really appreciate the fact that people are actually going behind me and doing their own research. It's a major plus. Major plus. Hold on now. Let me play this real quick. I hope this doesn't come out well. Let's see. I gotta hear it myself to make sure. Yeah, it's coming out. It's low though, right? But we found it. Yeah. Shout out my boy M16. M16 made this beat for me. But yeah, so like I said, I'm just kind of coming up on here and letting everybody know that yeah, today I'll be, oh no, that was loud. Wait. Let me cut that down. But this week we got an action-packed week. I would like to also include, and I've been thinking about this for a while now. I don't know if I should take a vote on this or not, but I've been thinking about including people with, like how I did on my last live stream, where people would join my clubhouse and they would say some things. And hold on, let me change this music because it's louder than me and it's kind of affecting what I'm going on. Okay, yeah, let me change the music. Yeah, I didn't mix that one, so it's gonna be louder, so I had to switch it up. But shout out to my boy M16, he doing his thing. We're working on a few things behind the scenes. You guys will see here shortly. But yeah, I wanted to, bring people on. And I was thinking about, like, I did purchase a call-in number, but I believe I need a little bit more equipment to set that up correctly. I'm not too sure. I'm gonna set some time aside to take a look at that. But I want to have, people. And in fact, if you would love to be interviewed, like say for example, you got land, or you did the process I asked you to do, and you got a benefit out of it, and you want to share it, don't hesitate. Because there's a lot of people that tell me, they don't want to share it for privacy reasons, and that's fine. But for those of you that are okay with sharing your stuff on my channel, yeah, I know this is like, a lot of people watching, but we don't have to necessarily say your real name. I mean, whatever we got to do.
My husband let himself go.
You must wonder why you drove him to it.
What?
You're tormented. Haunted.
Why are you doing that?
Men, not playing only beaters.
But it would be nice if you guys would, start showcasing it so other people can see what's going on. I mean, even though I know what's going on and a lot of us do, there's still a lot of us that don't. Okay, and it would be nice, and that would probably motivate them to continue on with their research as far as doing genealogy on their individual family's background. That would be a huge plus. If you could email my team, if you are that individual that wants to, have your story shared, email my team at info@I'mJustHereToMakeYouThink.com. Once again, that's info@I'mJustHereToMakeYouThink.com. And speaking of that, I will be announcing here shortly that my website is currently being changed as we speak. So it may look a little funny right now because it's getting dolled up. I mean, it's still up, but not at its best right now. I mean, you can still get things done, but I mean, the guy that's working on my website is, it's been taking a while, but I want to make sure that everything is top notch before I say, okay, here it is, guys. And there's an app coming soon, just in case. There is an app coming soon so everybody can have those videos right away. I mean, certain videos that are hitting here on YouTube, you'll be able to see those, the exclusive videos as well. And shout out to my Patreons that's on, patrons that's on my Patreon as well. You guys have been supporting me for quite some time. I want to definitely thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. In fact, this was your guys' idea as far as me getting the app so people can have access to the videos right there on their phone or whatever device they may choose. I'm glad that I was able to run across some people that knew how to do that, because I know that was a bunch of coding, so it took a while, but yeah, I'm somebody that I could trust, you know what I mean? That's what was taking so long, but that's being worked on as we speak. I've been busy working on a lot of books behind the scenes, and I told you guys I'm working on the curriculum as well so that you may teach your children. In fact, speaking of that, we just had a conversation day before yesterday, or yesterday, I forgot which way it went, on Clubhouse about this, and a couple of people were indicating that they would love to have it where the adults are being taught. And what I was trying to tell them is that the curriculum is being designed where an adult can teach anybody, but it's mainly for the children. But it would be best if you could teach yourself, other adults, and the children. But this, I'm going to try to put this curriculum inside of the educational system. We're going to, make some moves to try to get that done. If they do turn it down, it's still going to be available for everybody. I'm going to have that up here shortly. And I want to say by the end of the year with that one, because that's a big task for me. I'm making sure I'm crossing all T's and dotting all I's on that. So I'm not rushing that at all. As far as the books are concerned, the next one, we have the name of it, and I don't want my wife to get on me because I'm not sure if the name is copyrighted yet, so I don't want to announce that yet, but the book is done. We're in the process of getting ready to put that one out. Then another one. I'm rolling out books left and right, guys. I'm working very hard on that. So, because a lot of you guys are asking me to put a lot of what I present inside of the book. I mean, that way you can have not only the information, you can also have my research right in your hand. And I think that would be very beneficial, especially for the years to come. So I'm working on it real hard. And those of you that bought the most recent book my wife and I published, I would love your feedback on that. A lot of feedback I got was people were able to see. My main concern was to make sure that everybody can see it. It came out clear, because it costs an arm and a leg to do a book in color version. And that was my first one, okay? So I just wanted to make sure everything was fine. And according to the feedback I got, everything is well. It was a good book. All the information is inside of there. It's called False Heroes, False Hopes. I really appreciate you guys driving that book to #1 on Amazon. That really did look good. That was a good look. I'm not sure if it's #1 now. I'm pretty sure more books than came out since then, but it was #1 for like 2 weeks in a row. I didn't announce it. I'm not the announcing type or the bragging type. I know I should be to piss some people off, but that's all it's gonna do is piss people off. But no. But yeah, man. Today I'm chilling. Today's my birthday. I'm probably gonna get some wine with the wife, relax. I don't know where they're gonna take me. They keeping everything a secret. So, we'll see what's up. I'm excited. Because I've been working pretty hard. And I'm getting right back to it right after today. Like, see, they don't even know. Like my team, my wife, they don't even know that I'm live right now. Okay, so.
Wife's like, what'd you do? After, 6 months of doing this, she's seeing all the changes that are happening. And she says, I want to do this.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it.
If you're trying...
The WHO are meeting next week to discuss the Pandemic Accord, which would radically expand its powers. Nothing to worry about there, then. Hello there, you 5.6 million awakening wonders. If you want to awaken even quicker, why don't you sign up to my side channel, Awakening with Russell Brand. It's just one click away. I do meditations on there. I talk about well-being. I talk about how to avoid banging your fingers on the desk when you're listing things on your fingers. It's a treasure trove of useful information. If you don't subscribe to this channel yet, subscribe right now and turn on the notification bells at the end. I'll tell you how to sign up to my mailing list. But before any of that, Let's discuss the WHO, the World Health Organization, who care about the world's health. You're on the world, that's where you live, so hopefully they've got you in their hearts when they're meeting next week. Let's see what's going to happen. Primarily, they're interested in expanding powers of regulation around pandemics. This is from the Telegraph. On the 22nd of May, the World Health Organization meets for the World Health Assembly, an annual summit to which all the world's countries are invited except Taiwan, which is excluded at China's behest. Would you mind if everyone except Taiwan came? Well, it seems a bit unfair on Taiwan. We don't like them. We don't think there should even be a Taiwan. On the agenda is the Pandemic Accord that would greatly expand the WHO's powers to intervene in a country in the event of a future outbreak. Why do they want these powers? Well, it's meant to be a health organisation. We're here to help. You're all right, don't want any help. You're having help. The European Union, true to form, pushed for a legally binding pandemic treaty instead, but the accord would still have substantial force of international law behind it to make governments impose domestic lockdowns, for example, despite the WHO's own figures showing little correlation between lockdown severity and death rates. If their own figures show little correlation between the severity of the lockdown and death figures, then what is the reason for severe lockdowns? If something cannot be underwritten rationally, then what is the reason for it? I feel we are in a situation where people perpetuate power for power's sake, where the World Health Organization just want to increase their regulatory abilities. I also don't like, by the way, the idea that they're anticipating the next pandemic. I don't want to be naive. Pandemics are awful. No one wants disease, no one wants to be unhealthy, but my personal sense is that the solution to our individual and our collective and our national and our local problems is not to grant more power to an organisation that's primarily funded by the United States of America, then Bill Gates' foundation, then the United Kingdom. I think that they might be subject to biases that are at odds with your health requirements, my health requirements, various health requirements. I bet our health requirements differ, don't you imagine? We've got different requirements. I don't want more power externally imposed on me. I want less. I don't want less freedom. I want more freedom. I don't want more regulation. They're taking us in the wrong direction, and it seems to me that they're using various crises and threats to introduce regulations that won't be rescinded and, generally speaking, are advantageous to already powerful interests. Though some of the measures make sense, the plan skates around WHO's errors during the COVID pandemic. And we'll just skate around that. Your own errors are the signifiers from deeper reality as to where you can improve. If you ignore your own errors, I'm just speaking as an individual, where I have made errors in the past, that's where I'm most able to learn. And I'm not in charge of whether or not your country is going to have a lockdown in the event of another pandemic. He ignored Taiwan's early alarm call, praised the Chinese government for its transparency at a time when it was denying human-to-human transmissions and punishing whistleblowers, delayed declaring a health emergency, flip-flopped on masks and lockdowns, and mounted a farcical Potemkin investigation into the origin of the virus. But otherwise okay? Added to its poor performance in the 2014 Ebola outbreak, when for months the WHO resisted calls from doctors and NGOs to declare an emergency to avoid offending member governments, this track record does not inspire confidence. No, they're rubbish at pandemics. Right, this is what you should do in the event of a pandemic. What's your previous? Oh, well, tell you what, last pandemic we made a lot of mistakes. We punished whistleblowers. We needlessly offended Taiwanese people. We said wear masks, then don't. We get all of our funding from some billionaires, and we generally do what they tell us to do. Will you do what we tell you during the next pandemic? Yes. Yes, we will. And we'll make it law that everyone has to do it. That's not what you want, is it? Can you see where the world is going? More and more centralised power. More and more bureaucracy that's out of reach of democracy. More use of technology to create data systems that prevent us from having real freedom. That is the function of technocracy. These things have been measured, these are the outcomes, these are the results. Even if those results don't chime with your experience of being alive in the world. I say we need to go in the opposite direction. I'm not in denial of progress in areas of technology and medicine and the miracles that have been provided in both of those fields, but we have to understand who we are as a species. We have to recognise what's happening on our planet more broadly. According to the meeting's agenda, the Accord will be part of 6 action tracks focused on healthcare systems, zoonotic outbreaks, endemic tropical diseases, food safety, antimicrobial resistance, and protecting the environment. What is missing from that list? Well, one thing is laboratory safety and standards within the pharmaceutical industry. And in the event of another pandemic, if a medicine is contrived or conceived, that medicine's profits should go back into supporting the communities that ultimately had to fund it, because even if you live in a country like mine, the UK, where the vaccines were provided by the National Health Service, the National Health Service is of course funded by you, by the taxpayer, and those profits were then extracted by those pharmaceutical companies who made all that profit during an emergency where there was very little choice as to whether or not you used their product. So I would say that's irresponsible and something that could be addressed, particularly by a World Health Organization. I mean, that'd be a great thing to do. We are the world, we're a health organization, we're going to make sure that nothing like that ever happens again. Oh no, actually we're going to let that happen again. We're going to ensure, in fact, that that happens again. So what's missing from that list is something WHO itself and the US and other governments insist might well have been the cause of the COVID pandemic, namely a laboratory experiment gone wrong or a virus-hunting researcher infected while sampling bats in the field. Increasingly, this theory seems plausible or likely, certainly not a theory that can be easily eliminated at this stage. And what I think is ironic about the lack of inclusion here is it's an area that would be, I would imagine, easier to control than some of the things listed. It seems to me that the control of the narrative is vital, control of resources seems to be vital, the imposition of power, vital, further entwining relationships between the state and big pharma and the media. Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, the WHO Director General, said in July last year that it was premature to rule out a lab leak, a view echoed by the G7 summit. Since then, if anything, the evidence has grown stronger. A book published this month, Preventable, by Professor Devi Sridhar, argues that a lab leak is as likely an explanation as natural spillover and should be pursued until evidence emerges to the contrary. Bill Gates has written a book called How to Prevent the Next Pandemic. Its main message, according to one uncharitable reviewer, is that we can prevent the next pandemic by doing all the things that did not stop the last pandemic, only more faster and harder. But even Mr. Gates does allow that regardless of how COVID started, even the remote possibility of a lab-related pathogen release should inspire government and scientists to redouble their efforts on lab safety, creating global standards. Over the years, laboratory accidents have resulted in deaths of researchers and others from smallpox, anthrax, SARS and other pathogens. In one case, a global epidemic of flu resulted from a mistake with an experimental vaccine in China in 1977. In recent years, there was a dramatic increase in the number of coronaviruses taken from bat caves into labs for experiments, most of them in a city called Wuhan. Wuhan. Now that's been on the news. I've heard of that. Wuhan Club. Wuhan, hold on a minute! That's where this pandemic started. Yeah, but that was very definitely in a wet market. The experiments tested how easily the viruses could be induced to infect human cells. Some scientists compared this to searching for a gas leak with a lighted match. You know how we look back at the relatively recent past and find ridicule in like doctors smoking to advertise tobacco? I feel like that this whole Wuhan situation might one day be regarded with similar disdain. If you've got a virus that began in Wuhan and they're doing those kind of experiments there, what would be the reason for avoiding examining that theory? Well, if the pharmaceutical industry is responsible for the outbreak in the first place, how can we entrust the same pharmaceutical industry with the solution? I suppose that's a little binary because the pharmaceutical industry is vast, but actually, when you look at it, there is an incredible problem with monopolisation within the pharmaceutical industry and the agencies that regulate it and figures within the NIH that start to create a sense that these organisations are uncomfortably intertwined and have a lot of shared interests. This pandemic began a long way from where the infected bats live, but very close to the world's leading laboratory for collecting and manipulating SARS-like coronaviruses. That, plus the continuing failure to find an animal infected with the virus in food markets or elsewhere, added to some peculiar features of the virus's genome, has led many to conclude that a proper investigation of the Wuhan Institution of Virology is warranted. Well, they're doing is still poking around that wet market. No, still no bats. We'll get to the bottom of this. Are we going to look at the Wuhan Institute of Virology? No, not quite yet. There's another wet market I'd want to examine before we start looking over there. What do they do at the moment? They're very busy working on some more bat-like coronaviruses, and luckily though the WHO are preparing for the next pandemic. Now, does anyone fancy a spot of lunch? Yes, I think I'll have a little bit of bat soup. But the Institute has refused all requests to open up its 22,000 item database for international inspection, even though doing so could go a long way to reassuring the world. What? You thought there was information that might point to our involvement in the cause of this pandemic? We were organising a surprise birthday party, and that database, that was the guest. Your uncles, your cousins, friends who've not seen for years, and now all my efforts gone to waste. Oh, God, just like your bloody father. So you might think that the World Health Assembly might have put lab safety and transparency of research on the agenda next week at the very least. Yeah, especially if you're trying to look like a plausible, credible organisation, but nowhere are these even mentioned. In February, the WHO held the third COVID-19 Global Research and Innovation Forum. In the titles of the 49 sessions, the word origin did not appear once. By its set up a committee, the WHO seems to be paying no more than lip service to its own commitments to investigating the possibility of a lab leak. Like some Western scientists, it may be hoping the question of the origin of this dreadful pandemic remains unsolved lest the answer ruffle diplomatic feathers. Here's what a pandemic accord should include: a commitment by all national governments to share the genomic data of all viruses collected in the wild and to share details of all experiments being done on potential pandemic pathogens, yes, including in biowarfare labs. Something similar happens with nuclear research and with airline accidents, so it can be done. We told you last time we spoke about the WHO that there is a petition, and there's a link to the petition in the description, that would mean that the UK would hold a public referendum before signing up to this treaty. Wouldn't that be fantastic? And look, it says here that Parliament considers all petitions that get more than 100,000 signatures. You see how many layers there are before something democratic could actually happen? And doesn't the fact that you can even have these petitions suggest to you that democracy could be a lot more immediate than it actually is? Real democracy would mean putting power in your hands. You control your life. You control your community. Your life becomes not about distraction through entertainment and screens. It becomes about the organisation of your own life. For me, one of the biggest problems we're facing in the world right now is the centralisation of power. Whether it's through financial institutions, corporations, governments, we have less and less ability to regulate and control our lives through democratic means. And for me, the WHO is one of the organisations that most easily represents this problem. That's just what I think, of course, though. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at either of these. Sign up to my mailing list and you can be part of this community. You get a weekly bulletin from me. I'll tell you about all the things I'm up to. A one-day event on July 10th with Vandana Shiva and Wim Hof that you can attend, or maybe we'll stream that for you as well. But you have to sign up to my mailing list in any event. More important than any of that stuff, please stay free.
Yeah, we feel professional with headsets on. And we're live. Welcome back, Louis.
Oh, thanks. Nice to be back.
I was saying before the podcast started that you sent me down a Scientology rabbit hole last night, my friend. I've been down those before, but last night, knowing that you were going to be on and looking forward to it eagerly, I watched a lot of stuff.
And, I spent 3 years down that rabbit hole, and it's a weird one. It's a weird one. Were you on the internet? Were you just clicking around?
Yeah,
There's a lot on YouTube, but there's various very, very well-resourced websites. There's one called Clambake.
I've been to that one, yeah.
And then there's all the Tony Ortega stuff. I mean, there's just whole worlds. And actually, I know there's a lot to talk about, but perhaps the biggest obstacle to making a documentary about Scientology is the overabundance of material. Because there's just so many ways to come in on it, and you could just chase intriguing leads, and then months go by, and you're no nearer to filming anything.
I had a lot of thoughts on this, and one of the thoughts when I was really trying to unpack it all is that I feel like one of the reasons why a lot of these people defend Scientology, I think there's several reasons. One, because it's their team, and once you become a part of a team, it becomes something that you identify with, it becomes very important to you, and then you want to defend that. So I think there's that. But also, I think some people take some benefit in what L. Ron Hubbard created. Because have you read Going Clear?
Yes.
When I read Going Clear, I watched the documentary and then I read the book. And one of the things that was more fascinating about the book was the fact that he was essentially trying to diagnose and treat himself. And he was essentially a really nutty guy.
He was very damaged.
Yeah, he had a lot going on. And he was a guy who was trying to sort of sort it out himself, and in the process brought a lot of people in and then created this thing. And some people they get some benefit from this thing. Because like I was watching like some of these people that are upset with you, like that woman. There was a trailer where this woman was upset at you because you were in. I haven't seen the documentary yet. It comes out in America in January, but you were on a road that you had a permit for, and she was telling you were on private land. And
that's right.
I'm looking at this woman. I'm like, seems like a reasonable, intelligent, assertive, confident woman that would probably, if she didn't get into Scientology, she would have been successful in the corporate world, right?
I'm sure.
But here she is. Her corporation is written by a nutty science fiction writer who wrote more fiction than any human that's ever walked the face of the planet. He made up more shit. He wrote down more things that never happened than anyone who's ever lived. And they don't have a problem with that. They're like...
I mean, you've said about 10 different things that I could break down and analyze. I mean, I'm basically on the same page as you. I think there's the first thing to acknowledge about Scientology is that it's a religion, and that all religions have a very high portion of, you know, I'm trying to put it politely, but just bogus, fallacious, clearly nonsensical material, right? And Scientology is the same as all of those. I think there's a lot of people who've derived a lot of benefit from Scientology. I think there's people whose lives have been saved by it. Kirstie Alley will say at any opportunity that it was Scientology that got her off drugs. But I think you have to sort of take the whole package. And as far as Hubbard goes, he was an only child. He was a fantasist, a lonely guy who was also a narcissist. And I think as a writer, I mean, you can't. One of the things intriguing about Scientology is created by a sci-fi writer, right? There's not. Most other religions are created by sort of desert mystics or warriors or introspective people, but a modern-day sci-fi writer who's writing things about aliens taking over foreign galaxies. That accounts for a lot of its very bizarre inflection. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, not only that, I don't think he wrote a second draft ever.
No, he didn't have time. He was just churning it out. I think a lot of the stuff that they say he wrote, he didn't write, like, because he was married 3 times, and at least one of his wives took credit for writing some of his stuff. I think even some stuff of Scientology may be written by his second wife, who he subsequently disavowed, said he was never married to. But the guy was he lied about so many things. He was also abusive to his wives, I think plural. So physically, he was abusive to them. He was very, very troubled and suicidal. One of the most intriguing things in Going Clear is reading this list of I think they call them affirmations, which when he was in after the Second World War, he was racked with self-doubt. He thought he was a failure. He was embarrassed about his sexual urges, his compulsive masturbation, and so on and so forth. And he wrote down a list of things. Do you remember this section of it where it says, you do not feel compelled to masturbate 24 times a day. I mean, it's not literally. I mean, like, right. You were not a disgrace to the military. You acquitted your service in the Navy very creditably. It was all these sort of lies he was telling himself to reassure himself that he was actually, to feel okay about himself. It's a very humanizing document because you just see all his neurotic inclinations laid bare, that then subsequently informed his lifelong attempt to, as you say, sort of therapeutically heal himself.
And I think there's other people that identify with those sort of damaged thoughts, these thoughts where they don't like their past, they don't like who they are, they don't like the pattern that they're on, and they seek to try to change that and improve upon their position, improve upon their understanding and their acceptance of themselves. And I think that's where Scientology does benefit a lot of people. And so it is tricky, like many things in this life, it's not that black and white. I mean, is it black and white that it's a cult and that there's a lot of damaging aspects of that? Yes, absolutely. It's pretty clear. When you see the people that have tried to leave it and, you know, and tell the truth about their experiences in it and how they've been harassed and hounded, and yeah, that's all pretty black and white. But I think we can, in some ways, we can sympathize with some of the people that are in it. And yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, but the other thing to say is, because you started by asking what was it that made some people defend Scientology, and is it loyalty to their team? But I also think that on the outer periphery, like there are concentric rings of commitment to Scientology, and in the inner circle, it is extremely demanding, and I would argue abusive, and cult-like. On the outer circles, as you get further from the center, I think it can be relatively benign, and especially if you're a VIP or a celebrity in which you're exposed only to the best sorts of treatment. You're given kind of platinum card treatment. You go to the celebrity center, they roll out the red carpet for you, and I think those people feel immensely indebted to Scientology. I think that explains a lot about Tom Cruise. That he's only ever been treated like a prince when he's been in Scientology. So he feels so grateful for everything that they've done for him.
Yeah, I think his experience, when he talks about them, if he's being honest, I mean, if everyone had that experience, Scientology would be amazing. You know, when you see him, when they had the happy birthday thing for him, and he's dancing and everybody's cheering, like, imagine if you people treated you like that all the time.
Oh my goodness! Auditioning actors, like female actors, to see if they were going to be your girlfriend. Did you read that whole? I mean, imagine if they rounded up the most attractive young female actors in Hollywood to see whether they would go on a date with you. That would make life very simple. If you weren't married, as I am.
Would it though? Would it? God, I don't know, man. I mean, it's just you're dealing with a bunch of nutty people.
I know,
that are
that's
willing to
true.
go through that process.
Yeah, and actually, because it would be like almost King Midas thing where you wouldn't trust any of your instincts. You would feel as though people were erecting Potemkin villages everywhere you went. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Nothing would feel quite real.
Right, that's a good point. Also, like, imagine your wife today, if you found out that your wife today was one of the people that had auditioned to be Tom Cruise's wife. I mean, if you don't make the cut, you're damaged goods for the rest of your life.
That's interesting.
You're a nutty broad who is willing to go and sign up to become Tom Cruise's new wife.
Well, to be fair, they didn't know that was the job they were going in for.
Right, to be fair, yeah. That's true.
So
they were just being...
They just thought they were up for some gig. I mean, do you know what I mean? Maybe a sitcom or something.
Essentially they were. I mean, and then there's also all of the... This is a difficult thing to skirt around, but the Scientology treatment of homosexuals, where they sort of shield them from the press or hide their activity and sort of... Do you know what a beard is?
I do.
Yeah. They hire beards.
You know, that's a great point, and I think actually that's another one that, you know, I guess we as a society have evolved a lot over the last 50 years. To some extent, Hubbard was a creature of his times and his attitudes towards homosexuality. The trouble is, because they're saying it's a religion, that's been enshrined as scripture, and so there is L. Ron Hubbard's scripture that dictates that homosexuals, gays are perverts. They're 1.1 on the tone scale, which is the same as journalists, oddly enough, but it's very, very low. Basically, you are a kind of broken, deceitful, devious character.
Journalists are 1.1 of the tone scale.
Same as perverts. But and actually, I think quite explicit. I mean, I could go down, and that explains a lot about why it's so hard to make a documentary. In practical terms, why they don't cooperate with documentaries. They just see you as a pervert. You know, someone who's dedicated to the abasement of humanity, in essence, someone who's holding humanity back from being what it should be.
That's just incredible that he's managed to define journalist under that category. The very people that we rely upon to investigate the truth and express that truth, disseminate that truth to the general public, those people are perverts.
And that's scripture as well. You know what I mean? So it's not like you can argue against it in their I mean, one of the big things they're up against is any attempt, most kind of malfunctioning regimes, whether it's a corporate entity or something else, you say, this isn't working, let's try something else. So much of what happened in Scientology, this was explained to me by one of our sources in the film, a guy called Marty Rathbun, who was very high up in Scientology. He said something could be working extremely badly inside Scientology, but if it came out of Hubbard, then you couldn't really change it. Hubbard apparently once said, the best way to wash windows is using vinegar. Don't use Windex, use vinegar. And because of that, whenever they washed windows in the Sea Org, in the inner sanctums of Scientology, they had to use vinegar because Hubbard said that was how you were supposed to do it. And nothing can be changed. It's a bit like Mormons. I mean, now Mormons, I don't know how they got around it. They say you don't have to be polygamous. But it's like turning an aircraft carrier around. If it comes from, basically, if it's gospel, then how do you reform? God's changed his mind is basically what you have to say.
Well, that is the real problem with religion. Because we all recognize that no one person has ultimate truth. And especially when you're just going through this life trying to figure out yourself, trying to figure out what is this all about, this strange spinning ball that's floating in the sky and we're hurling through infinity, and what is the purpose of this existence? And there's a lot of open-ended questions that never have any answers. So when someone comes along and they have this rigid ideology where things are very clearly defined, you must ask, who is defining these things? Who is this person that is beyond reproach? And when that person is a yellow-toothed weirdo that's dressed like a captain with some medals that he put himself on his own jacket, and he's a science fiction author who wrote more bullshit than any human being has ever read, and wrote bad books. I mean, he's a bad writer.
I haven't read any of his books. I've tried to read Dianetics several times. It's almost unreadable in my view. Have you tried to read Dianetics?
I bought Dianetics once, a late night before the internet. There was a late night infomercial. I've always been a person who's really into self-help and psychology.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Because I've always tried to figure out, like, what is it about, why do people sabotage themselves? Why do I get lazy? Why do I not fulfill some of my goals? And so I really got into, like, Anthony Robbins, and I got into a lot of psychology books and self-help books. And one night I was at home and I was watching this commercial for Dianetics. So I said, all right, I'm going to call this. And I called, and I guess I gave my credit card number or whatever it was. And
you were an actor at this point.
I was a working actor.
Quite successful.
Yeah, I was.
They would have.
Okay.
If they saw you coming, they would have absolutely. That would have made their year.
Well, I never went in. I never went there, but I did in the future. I did do the e-meter thing. That was way later. So this is like 1994 when I just first came to Hollywood.
I want solar panels on my home, but they're too expensive. I get this comment all the time, and the good news is it's dead wrong.
So Frank Turek's been on this weird kick of talking about how heroes from fantasy, science fiction, and comic book movies relate to, and I guess even stole, elements of Christianity. Seriously, 9 of his last 12 videos at the time I'm recording are about this. I get the point. You gotta try to make your message all hip and culturally relevant. And sell his book, which gets mentioned once or twice.
We just wrote a book. It's all about the book. We point this out in the book. In the book, all the details are in our book. My son, who co-wrote the book Hollywood Heroes with me, this is the new book, his book. So check it out. It's called Hollywood Heroes. My oldest son wrote this book with me. They can go to HollywoodHeroesBook.com, HollywoodHeroesBook.com. What book is about, and use this book with your kids.
And I guess by bringing his son into this, he's trying to kickstart his rise to apologetic stardom. They're the Will and Jaden Smith of apologetics. Will Smith wanted to make his son.
I'm about to go grab a cold drink.
So he gave him the lead role
and a snack. And I'll be right back.
The whole thing was a disaster, so it ended up embarrassing him well. The same way, Frank Turek's writing his course ending to an ill-conceived project that unfortunately would be the main thing that he's remembered for, if he's remembered at all. So that was unnecessary, right? First would have worked even better as a one-time illusion that you immediately got and laughed uproariously about. Like this. Basically, they're the Will and Jaden Smith of apologetics. But instead I belabor the point by painstakingly summing up a movie reference that's already aged millennia and meme years, and then leaving no imagination as I sum up how it relates to my point. Exactly what Frank Turek's doing. Unpacking movies in belabored but superficial ways is part of the latest try-hard attempt at making Christianity appealing to all the youths out there. Hey, fellow cool kids, want to skateboards? So today I thought I'd look at one of the most comprehensive single videos titled How Your Favorite Movies Can Reveal the Gospel to the Lost and the Youth, in which he runs through several of his apparently best examples. His host Alan spent the first 15 minutes going on about how Christians should use familiar cultural references to relate to Christianity like the Apostle Paul did. Harry Potter.
Let's just take Harry Potter, because that's the most controversial one. A lot of people are really schooled up against Harry Potter because Harry Potter has all this wizardry in it. Let me say a few things about that. Number one, the wizardry in Harry Potter is a fiction of J.K. Rowling's imagination. She doesn't think any of this stuff is true. This is not divination in the Bible where you're trying to contact the dead. That's not what she's doing. Nobody thinks that you can get on a broomstick and fly around anywhere in real life, right? This is a fictional fantasy story. So, secondly, the kind of wizardry that you see in Harry Potter is similar to the wizardry that you see in Lord of the Rings and Chronicles of Narnia. I mean, after all, Gandalf is a wizard, right? Why do Christians have no problem with Lord of the Rings and Chronicles of Narnia, but somehow Harry Potter is off limits?
And while this is physically painful to say, thank you, Frank. Double standard always drove me crazy, and I remember making the same argument when I was a Christian. Frank will find a way to spoil this brief moment we're having, so I'll let him get to it.
Thirdly, if you look at the Harry Potter story, Harry Potter probably has more in common with Jesus than any other character in modern fiction. Think about this. Harry Potter is prophesied to be the savior of his world before he's born.
As I understand, this isn't totally accurate. Prophecy was mainly about Voldemort.
Yeah, why is it still so hot in here, y'all? I've had the AC on for a minute.
Secondly, Harry Potter has to live a morally good life in order to actually be the savior.
No, he just had to defeat Voldemort. Nothing specific about the kind of life he had to live, and calling him a savior is really going out of your way to work in Christian terminology.
He actually dies, sacrifices himself.
I hear different things about this, and from what I understand, semantics said whether Harry did or had to actually die. There's actually a lot of discussion about this, and it seems like relating it to the death and resurrection of Jesus is tenuous at best.
To try and defeat Voldemort, who is the Satan figure in the story.
I guess you could call him the Satan figure, or just the bad guy if you're not trying to shoehorn in non-existent Bible references.
But then Harry, number 4, rises from the dead to defeat Voldemort, and the people have to put their faith in him in order to do it. Does that sound familiar?
Put their faith in him is just a deliberately Christian-y sounding way of saying people had to believe in his plan and join him for the final battle. I don't know a lot about Harry Potter, so I got help from a couple friends who know better than I do here. But even if I'm off at points, Frank definitely seems to be stretching. Harry Potter's story always struck me as following the hero's journey template in a pretty generic way, and I just don't see a lot of unique Jesus elements at work in it.
J.K. Rowling, who wrote the whole series, said, first of all, the biblical backbone of this I didn't want to reveal to people because I didn't want them to know where the story was going. And secondly, she said the entire series can be epitomized by 2 Bible verses. One is, where your treasure is, that's where your heart will be also. That's the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 6:21. That's in the movie and the book. As well as the other verse, which is, the last enemy to be destroyed is death. And that's 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And that's on the tombstone of Harry Potter's parents. And Rowling says these 2 verses epitomize the whole series.
So the story made allusions to a couple well-known Bible verses. This feels validating when you're a Christian, especially if you think the world ignores Christianity or is anti-Christian. But it's pretty inevitable that you'll find these kinds of allusions to Christian scripture the way you'll find endless cultural references to Greek mythology. Sure, maybe this is an okay opportunity to point out a Bible verse if that's your thing, but this isn't borrowing Christian ideas any more than using the phrase a Herculean task is borrowing ideas from classical myths. It's just using well-known allusion to convey common ideas. You'll find this is a running theme through Frank's analysis. He sifts through movies for common, often mundane observations about theme, characterization, or imagery, and if any comparison can be made to anything in the Bible, which it inevitably will since you can glean these from almost any body of literature, he claims it shows the Bible is pervasive in everything. Potter was probably actually his strongest reference. Do that as we move on next to Wonder Woman.
Sure, how about Wonder Woman? Wonder Woman, there are 2 major movies in which Wonder Woman appears. Well, she also appears in Justice League, but the 2 major movies for her were Wonder Woman from 2017 and Wonder Woman 1984 from about 2020. Came out Christmas Day 2020. In these two movies...
Here's a video that went viral this week thanks to libs of TikTok. It's a woman grooming her son live on camera and in a department store dressing room. No, what appears to be a department store dressing room, no less. Let's watch some of this.
Okay, hold on. You love it, and you want it, and you picked it out, but you don't want it for school. Can you tell me why?
Because last night I wore a dress to school. Everybody called me a girl.
Oh. Well, what did we learn from My Shadow is Pink?
Even when you wear a dress, you're not a girl.
What makes a shirt for a boy or a girl?
Nothing.
So do you want this? You picked it out.
I do want it.
You want to wear it all the time at home, but not at school, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I want to make fun of. And that's what they always do when I was
I'm sorry,
But
baby.
not when I do it only on special occasions.
What makes you like dresses so much?
I just like dresses.
Do you think bright, pretty colors and dresses and sequins and jewels and golds, all the things that you always want to wear, do you think that's your innermost you?
It is.
Well, how are you going to be your innermost you when we live in a place that people think clothing belongs to a particular gender? It's a trick, isn't it? You know your mommy gets made fun of by people for looking like this, too. What do you think about that?
Nope. That's not. That's just wrong. That's just wrong.
What's the thing that always jumps out at you when you see these kinds of videos of parents grooming their kids and filming it and then posting it proudly? And in this case, it's just made all the more disturbing by the fact that she's in the dressing room at a department store and she's filming her own kid. So what jumped out at you? Well, of course, just how outrageously disgusting all of this is, right? But also what you notice with the kid, like every time with these kinds of videos, and unfortunately there are many videos like this, it's like the kid is not engaged, okay? He's just a kid. I'm not sure how old this kid looks like. He's 4, maybe 4 or 5 or something, around there. And like any 4 or 5-year-old kid, he's just being a kid. He's just kind of bouncing around, and she's interrogating him, trying to get him to say the lines that she's fed him so that she can get it on camera and post it on TikTok and get, and be congratulated for it. But the kid's not even really cooperating because he's just a kid. He doesn't care about this. Like, he actually does not have any intense desire to wear dresses. She's asking, well, why do you want to wear a dress? Oh, no, he doesn't care. Like, you could easily, even if the boy did have some intense desire to wear dresses, as the parent, you still say no. And if the desire is that intense, there's something psychologically going on, you get them some counseling, right? If that's what it comes to. But the point is, in like 99% of cases, it wouldn't even be necessary. Yeah, that the child may have, maybe, at some point in the past, expressed some kind of desire to wear a dress to school or something. I'm skeptical of that. I mean, it seems apparent to me that she's been feeding all of this to him from the beginning. But let's just say that at some point a year ago, he said, "Mom, I want to wear a dress to school." Well, it's really obvious in that video that you could just say to the kid, "Oh, no, boys don't wear that. Just wear this instead." And he'd be fine with it. So he doesn't care that much. Of course he doesn't. Okay, breaking down gender barriers and destroying the binary and all that stuff. No kid understands any of that or cares about it. That's not their priority in life. This kid's bouncing off the wall, so he just wants to go outside and play and be a boy. That's all he wants. Okay, leave the dressing room This is for the mom. Leave the dressing room, put the camera down, you freak, abusing freak. Bring your kid to a playground and let him climb on the jungle gym, because that's all he wants to do. He doesn't want to be a part of this. But he also doesn't, because unfortunately he's stuck with you and he has no other frame of reference, he doesn't understand what's happening to him. And he can't communicate that he just wants you to shut the hell up and let him live his life as a boy. From every single video like this. This includes all the, the documentaries and reality shows they've done. I Am Jazz, whatever that HBO documentary was last year about the quote-unquote trans kids, and all of those things. If you actually watch, and it's hard to stomach watching any of it, but it can be quite instructive to watch a little bit of it, because this is what you always find.
Ghosted by your sunscreen?
Boo. Get ready to turn everything you know.
101,000 women going to health technology, and these are the fields. What are your statistics for you can manipulate statistics? I mean,
about for more content, let's get right to the video.
What are your statistics for women getting paid less than men? I mean, honestly, as I said, I can look at it right now. It's more of a common sense phenomenon to validate my opinion. It's the same thing that is done on an everyday basis, but you can manipulate statistics. Okay, then what is this common sense that women are paid less than men? All right, how many women do you see in top positions across the country, in leadership positions or board positions or president positions, as opposed to male positions? Because I said that there are not as many females in either leadership, board, and your argument for that was that a woman gets pregnant.
He's right, I don't see very many female CEOs, but I also don't see very many female plumbers. Water treatment, the dudes who literally go and get the doo-doo out of the water, 87% of them are men. So if we're going to talk about this glass ceiling, we have to also talk about this glass basement, because there seems to be not enough equality when it comes to hard, laborious, outdoor, dangerous jobs. In 2012, 93% of all workplace deaths were men. Because men are willing to do the dirty, laborious, dangerous jobs that uphold society. Men run these societies by being CEOs and being presidents and being senators, but men also are willing to do the work that's necessary to uphold that society. You can't expect to have a representation in the top, most cushy, most respected, highest paying positions, yet there'd be a discrepancy in all the hard work and laborious jobs that are required to run that society. So it's always weird to me when people complain that women aren't represented in these top positions, yet they don't talk about the ditch digging. Why don't we have more female ditch diggers? I am for equality. Let's get some of these women to be electricians and plumbers. The truth of the matter is women are not interested in those jobs. They're dangerous, they're dirty, they're laborious, they don't hold any status. Women do not want those jobs. 87% of water treatment people are men. 85% of truck drivers are men. 93% or 95% of all military deaths are men. So what you're doing is taking a very small minority of hyper-successful men that are at the top, and then saying that men have an inherent advantage in society while ignoring the vast majority of men that work dangerous jobs. So if we're going to talk about the glass ceiling because I have a 0.001 chance of being a CEO or a president, let's also talk about the glass basement. Majority of workplace deaths are men. Majority of military deaths are men. Majority of people that are ending themselves are men. Majority of the homeless population are men. Majority of the victims of violent crimes are men. But if you want more representation in the people that run society, you need more representation in the people that uphold that society.
Our argument was that women don't go into that field as often as men. And besides that, why don't they go into that field as often as men? Because
they don't want to.
That more women graduate from college, which means that they do have the same ambition, if not more than what men have originally. Because you're the one who made the argument that you have more women graduating already with associate's degree, almost a 2-to-1 fact than what men do. So what you're saying is that you have more women entering the workforce and are trying to get a degree to further their education. Which
what are they going to school for? That matters if you're not in school for technology.
And be represented in the top positions. Mr. Guerrero. For computer science. I am. Let me get to my point.
Sure, women are graduating with degrees, but what are they going to school for? That matters. Because if you're going to school because you're interested in art, you're not going to make as much money as a person that's going to school for STEM, right? Science, technology, engineering, and math. 85% of engineers are men. No one is stopping women from going to school to be engineers. No one. In fact, people are actually encouraging women to go to school to be engineers. The truth of the matter is most women are not interested in those things. Most women are interested in art. Most women are interested in fashion. Most women are interested in people. So they go into fields that happen to deal with people, fashion, and art. That's what women like to do. What are you going to do? Put a gun to their head and force them to go to school for engineering? No one is forcing. Everybody is able to make their choice, and women are deciding by and large that they don't want to go to school for STEM fields. So if you're fighting for the right for women to be able to choose what they want to do, which I agree with, by the way, you have to respect their choices, and this is what they're choosing to do.
Okay, computer sciences, 32,288 associate's degrees given to males, as opposed to 8,814 given to women.
Wow. So
that's a higher rate.
All the other things.
So, then,
We're talking about the other 640,000 degrees that we talked about.
Social sciences, which 6,000 people go to social sciences. There's 8,000 women. And where there's 101,000 women going into health technologies. These are all lower paying fields.
So what you're saying is that women don't have the...
I'm saying that women choose to go into the field they're interested in, and these are the fields that they're interested in.
Exactly.
Making less money.
So, but I'm talking about the same position. I'm talking about less money. Statistics. I know statistics are bullcrap. I can make up statistics and they're bullcrap. I've used it. I've done it. I've actually taken classes from people that do statistics for the whole country. No, and they tell you that statistics are bullcrap. So when you keep on doing statistics, it's a bullcrap argument, and you can't see through that.
You're in the slavery time, correct? Is that correct? Is it? Hold on. Is that correct?
I would think this would be the last argument.
Well, yeah, I know. Hold on. Is that correct?
I would think that this would be the last.
No, Mr. Graham, is that correct? Were slaves considered inferior to the owners? Yes. So, if women are considered inferior to men, why would women not be the ones working?
Bingo.
Because it's good over when that work is social.
Oh, this is I forgot. Oh my God!
Because women are supposed to stay at home and do what? What are the women supposed to stay at home and do? Matthew, what are the women supposed to stay home and do? Okay, what else are the women supposed to stay home and do? What is the woman supposed to stay home and do? Hey, what else is the woman supposed to stay home and do?
I see what you're doing.
No, you're the one saying it. What is the woman? I didn't say it in the word. Who said that the woman's supposed to stay home and do 100? Everybody put it first. Matt, who's supposed to say that the woman's supposed to stay home and take care of the kids? You did. It never came out of my mouth. It came out of your mouth.
Mr. Real, I'm giving you the answers you want.
No, you gave me the answers that were on top of the head because that's social conformity.
No, it's social. I heard feminists say.
No, it's social conformity.
No one else is saying that women should do one.
Who's the only person who said it? Who's the only person that said it? You.
No, listen, Mr. Real, no one else is saying that women should stay home except for the feminists who say we say it.
Thanks.
I said it because that's what I thought you were looking for. I got you to make a point. You're just angry.
I'm not making a point. I'm making a point that you are sitting there as a male arguing that there is not an equal field right now.
I'm not sitting here arguing that. I'm arguing that there is equal rights. If they have right opportunities.
You're getting a little upset right now.
I'm enjoying this. I'm loving this.
This is what people have to understand. When you send your boys to school, you're not sending them to these higher institutions of learning. You have to understand that you're pretty much sending your boys to school to be told that they're a part of the problem all the time, and the only solution to their problem is the girls in the classroom. And then people get surprised when boys are dropping out of school, when boys don't want to go to college, when boys aren't graduating. It's because they're being told that they're the problem every single day. It's literally just like the blue eyes, brown eyes experiment. If you tell kids with brown eyes that they're significantly less valuable than the kids with blue eyes, regardless of how well the brown eyes kids was doing in school, they're going to do significantly worse than the kids with blue eyes because the teacher told them that the ones with the blue eyes were more important.
Blue-eyed people. Brown-eyed people are better than blue-eyed people. They're smarter than blue-eyed people. And if you don't believe it, look at Brian. I use Orton Gillingham Phonics. We use the card pack. The brown-eyed children were in the low class the first day, and it took them 5.5 minutes to get through the card pack. The second day, it took them 2.5 minutes. The only thing that had changed was the fact that now they were superior people. You went faster than I ever had anyone go through the card pack.
So when you teach boys the future is female, when you teach boys toxic masculinity, when you teach boys that they're consistently a part of the problem regardless of anything that they've done, they're not going to want to go to a university after high school and have to deal with that for 4 more years, and not only that, but have to pay to do it. I'm not going into $60,000 worth of debt just to hear that I'm the problem for 8 hours a day. The truth of the matter is colleges have a new target audience. They are young, gullible women that are willing to go $60,000 in debt for a liberal arts degree that they're never going to use. 53% of recent graduates are underemployed or unemployed, meaning they either don't have a job at all or have a job that doesn't even require a degree. College is supposed to be a place where you go to get your ideas challenged so that you can gain new perspectives, not a safe space where you can just sit in an echo chamber and have all of your ideas just repeated back to you. I'm not saying that degrees are pointless. The higher level of degree you have, the more money you will make on average. But what I am saying is 53% of the people that go to college are not using their degrees at all. Not only that, but they're starting their life off with a $60,000 debt. It sounds like our educational systems are more in it for the money than they are for the betterment of the students.
So, there is a 79% pay gap between men and women. 79%. 79 cents for every dollar that a man makes.
Do you know how that's calculated?
I would say math.
Got a jokester.
Not equal paying jobs, but like men and women in the same positions.
It's taking from men and women.
This is according to the U.S. Census Bureau's current population survey.
Can I say something?
Well, I told you guys statistics are crap if he doesn't fall back on it.
Your side just fell back.
Yeah, they fell back on statistics to argue your statistical point.
Okay.
Because that's what you guys even listen to.
The teacher saying statistics don't matter.
But if they give you that statistic right there, do you believe that statistic or do you believe the one in front of you?
I could go.
If I write a book, and I write a book about how Nazis were really great people, will there be somebody that believes it? Yes. Does it mean it's the right point? No.
No, I would just take.
You have an associate degree. You don't have that.
No, I don't have that.
You don't have those.
Actually, no, you have bachelor's.
Right, with bachelor's degree.
What's your source? Because that's your favorite.
Statista.com.
32 hours more.
Okay. So 32 hours. 46% of men work at least 41 hours per week. In 2012, which was the year Obama came out with his. I think it was 77%, which started a really big thing. So that was 2041. Obama came out and says that a woman makes 77% of every dollar men make.
Oh,
that's what he came out with.
Obama said.
Obama's wrong.
And then,
no, he's not wrong. No, that's true actually. But it's not. Hold on, no, Mr. Grant, hold it up. I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. Hold it up. I'm not done yet.
He's gonna make it a good point.
No, I want to hear this. 2012.
I'm not done.
You said 2012. Obama said, and you said Obama was right that women make 77 cents on the dollar than men do.
but it's not because of the
You don't know how that's calculated, do you? No, but I know how it's calculated. It's calculated by comparing the number of full-time working women to the full-time working men. 43% of women leave the workforce when they have a child, right? And when they come back, I have this. No, but we can talk about this after I get the 77 minutes thing out of the way. 40% of these people will return to their jobs. 77% will rejoin in part-time. But part-time isn't calculated. So that's already 40. That's somewhere in the numbers of 43% of women not being calculated in this calculation in the 77% figure. Not only this, but women don't go in, on average, they don't go into higher-paying jobs.
Bingo.
Why?
Why?
They choose not to.
Are you going to imply here that there's a society that's pushing women from going away from higher paying jobs? Is that what you're saying?
I think that would be almost.
Are you going to say the old boys club?
I have never seen a STEM group that hasn't wanted every person they can to join.
Exactly. Nobody's telling young women to not go to STEM.
And
Is that where the money is at?
Yes, that's where the money is at. Microsoft, the industry is growing.
If they're full-time working all year, she will earn $5,000 less than that man.
And is that because she goes into a different field?
It's in the same job.
It's in the same job.
Oh my God.
Wait, so now can I just say this? For a second. Okay. So, that's full-time job, correct? So we said the full-time job was at least 32 hours. And this is the last thing I'm going to say. I'm going to let you guys know that. But 26% of men work at least 41 hours a week.
There it is.
But only 14% of women work at least 41.
Exactly.
Okay. So women will be more likely than men to work 35 to 49 hours a week, and 12% to work 40 hours.
Bingo.
2012, while 5% of men worked minimum hours. A large majority of both male and female full-time workers have a 40-hour work week. Among these workers, women earn 88% as much as men. The average, so yes, they did earn less, but on average, the average woman work less than men.
And what you're saying, Jack, is statistic right?
That was just a direct quote from the average.
Women don't make as much as men for a plethora of reasons. It's a multifaceted problem. It's not something that you could just chalk up to the patriarchy. The first reason being is women work on average 36 hours a week, which is considered part-time. Women work on average 36 hours a week, while men work on average 42 hours a week. So if we're working in the same position, say we're both lumberjacks, which is probably unlikely because there are so few female lumberjacks, it's the most dangerous job in the world. Let's say we're both lumberjacks and I work 4 hours a week more than you. Of course, over the span of the year, I'm going to make more money in the same position as you because I worked more hours. I deserve to have more money than you. Let's talk about raises. Let's talk about promotions. Who are you more likely to give a raise or a promotion to? The girl that works 36 hours a week or the guy that works 42 hours a week? Probably the guy that works 42 hours a week. So guys are more likely to get raises. Guys are more likely to get promotions. Guys are less agreeable, so we are more likely to negotiate for those things also. All of these things play into part when we talk about this gender wage gap. So there's time. There's also how dangerous the job is. 92% of all workplace deaths are men. Men choose more dangerous jobs and should be compensated because their jobs are dangerous. So we have hours worked. We have how dangerous the job is. Now let's talk a little bit about experience, which is another reason why men tend to get paid more. I wanted to get to the bottom of this, so I looked up jobs with the biggest gender pay gap. I clicked the first link that I see at the top. Scroll down. At number one, we have pilots with a 26.6% gender pay gap. And the teacher was kind of right because you can lie with statistics, but if there's anybody lying with statistics in this situation, it would be the people that are actually for the gender pay gap or that actually believe in the gender pay gap. Because you look at that statistic and you'd say, well, female pilots just make 26% less than male pilots. But let's take into account the experience. The study found that females employed by major airlines had significantly higher accident rates than their male counterparts overall. However, female pilots on average were less experienced and much younger than males. So not only do women get into more accidents because they're younger and less experienced, but they're also younger and less experienced. So now the 26% makes sense, right? Just take your own anecdotal evidence. When you get off of a plane and people are clapping because it's the pilot's last day, how often is the pilot that you see a woman? Not very often, because generally speaking, women are more likely to quit out on their high-paying careers in order to raise a family, rightfully so. So who should make more money? The 45-year-old pilot that never has to quit his job because he doesn't have to worry about having children, or the 22 or 24-year-old new pilot that's a woman that just comes in? Of course she's not going to make the same amount of money as the guy that's more experienced. There are also more reasons that I'm not going to get into for why there are gender pay gaps, quote unquote. One of them happens to be what you're interested in. If you're interested in art, you're not going to be valued as much as a person that's interested in technology, and you're probably not going to make as much as a person that's interested in technology. Now, you can't control your interest, but that's just the truth of the matter. With all that being said, I actually like this. I like that there are kids that are sitting in classes having their ideas challenged by facts, data, and statistics. I think that's important on both sides. But I do think it's important for teachers to stay unbiased in these situations, because teachers are always going to have their opinion more respected than the students. So when you're a teacher and you pick a side because you're biased, you're giving that side validity even though they haven't deserved it. The classroom needs to remain a place that's unbiased. I don't care about your feelings. Do the facts, data, and statistics support your argument? That is what should be valued in school, not safe places for people to just say crazy ideas. We need to stop allowing our educational institutions to become safe spaces, because when you're in a safe space, all you do is allow for the same idea and it becomes an echo chamber. School is a place where kids should go to get their ideas challenged by teachers, not verified by teachers. Till next time.
My boo, I'm just here for a rendezvous, and I ain't holding that bro, cause I've been feeling like a war.
What do you think about that one? The gender pay gap?
they've been sending Built Bars to the studios. This is a miscommunication because Built Bars are not good for dogs. Yes, they are keto friendly with the low carbs, and they have close to 20 grams of protein, but they also have real Belgian dark chocolate, which, as you know, are bad for dogs. And this is why I would request that you not go to built.com, but instead send garbage. Garbage is part of a balanced and fortified diet for all Joe Lewis's and dogs. It has everything that a dog needs and does the body good, and it is much better for than a Built Bar. So no more Built Bars, even if you think they're delicious. Don't be selfish. Please just send garbage.
June 18th, Pikes Peak Center, Colorado Springs, Colorado, prepares for the funniest show on Earth.
The clock is completely wrong in your car. It says it's 1:08.
It's right to me.
It's 2:27.
Yeah, but it's 1:08 to me because I set it back for Kwanzaa.
That doesn't even make any. That doesn't.
Daylight Kwanzaa. Savings.
There's no. I just don't. This is an entirely useless. It's everything about this clock is wrong. It's an entirely useless clock.
It's Easter. Easter time.
Now you're just naming holidays.
Thanksgiving. Shabbos.
You guys ever tell me to, I realized you never tell me to like fix my hair before I go on air.
I don't know what fix your hair looks like.
That's true. It just
run your fingers through it, and I'm like, oh.
It looks like a lady's been running her fingers through my hair.
Fabulous.
Not a lady. No, an old lady. Oh, yeah, an old lady. Did I ever tell you the story about that time at, by the way, hello. We'll be talking about, hey, I don't know if you can see that. That's the third rail, the Great Replacement Theory. We'll be talking about that today. So my question to you before anything else is, what do you think the Great Replacement Theory is? How do you think the leftist media is portraying it, and is there some truth to it, and can there be truth to it without it being racist? And I'm using the term the Great Replacement Theory because that's what they're coining it. But I'm going to be clear. It's not about race. It's not about even culture. It's about voting demographics. So let's be clear about that. We don't need to load it with race. There's an issue, and it's an issue of buying votes. So we're going to touch that today. And, look, if we get banned here on YouTube, if we do not tell you that we are not doing a show, that means that we are still live streaming. Rumble right now, in Mug Club. Today is Chat Thursday, an extra 45 minutes of show. I want to be done by 10:50 today because we're supposed to be done by 10:45, but we never actually make it.
That's true, we don't do it. True.
And nothing would make me happier than for as many people from YouTube right now to just go over to Rumble, go over to Mug Club. You guys often complain about, like, well, why are you still on YouTube? Well, you can not be. It's your fault. So a seagull pooped on my head, Dave, and
that's good.
Old Port, Montreal, and I used to have people thought my mom frosted my hair, which would be child abuse.
Yes, it would be.
She's just giving me some estrogen injections.
They thought it was frosty tipped?
Yes, they thought I was a member of 98 Degree.
Yes, you were in a boy band all of a sudden.
And this old lady at first, she goes, oh, yeah, which means, oh, okay. And she went and she touched my hair and got seagull crap all over her hand.
Oh, so that's how she died.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to lick your fingers.
No, that's true.
Watching too many Colonel commercials. Nah. It's a finger lick if someone took that too literally and they ended up with no fingers. No, that's terrible. Oh, all right.
I've been pooped on by a bird many times.
Yeah. Well, you're a very lucky guy.
Yeah.
Liberal bird.
As you know, I walk around with a parrot when I'm not on camera.
Yes. You're Jack Sparrow.
Yeah. Well, I prefer to be called. Well, it's like, dude.
He prefers to be called
Jack Geese.
She poops.
She poops.
Oh my gosh, Amber Heard. Did you watch Amber Heard yesterday? Okay. Anyway, so we have a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about the Great Replacement theory and how the left is portraying it. I think this is something that needs to be addressed. And unfortunately, you have people in hysterics on both sides. By the way, the Great Replacement theory started with and was presented as a virtue by the left. And you don't have to take my word for it. We have all references available today at louderscreditor.com and some history in immigration laws. And I don't know if you know who screwed it up. Professional driver Ted Kennedy.
Ah.
Yes.
Yeah.
King of the Oldsmobile.
Yes, the first Uber.
Yes.
Yep. to get a 1-star review.
Baby, you can hide my car. All right. Yeah, as a scripture drive Ted Kennedy with Ted Kennedy. If you like the second underwater level of Super Mario.
Yes.
All right, let's go to Gerald A. How are you?
I am well, sir. How are you?
I'm okay. Yesterday, oh my gosh, it was so. You guys may not notice, but yesterday I was doing this a lot because
I thought you were just
it looked like I was doing the Sears catalog family portrait, but it was just I couldn't support my own neck. Oh gosh.
What do you like, the giraffe with a brace?
Yes, Jeffrey.
Step up with Jeffrey.
And
I still have that in my bathroom.
Do you?
No, but I should.
Yeah, you should.
Sometimes I can't get the sink.
Why are you peeing in the sink?
You hear him, you know him, you love him. He's available.
Rush,
Follow him on
rush.
Twitter at Landau Dave. And he and I will be in Colorado Springs June 18th. We added a second show. It's early because of how the venue works. I think it's like at 3:30. So there are some tickets left. Not many. We're letting you know right now because there are a lot of walk-ins and then they just won't be available. So that's our last show here.
Ahoy, hoy.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
How are you?
I don't know. It just fell out of my mouth while you were talking.
Ahoy, hoy.
Ahoy, hoy. I don't know cues.
Johnny Depp makes a really good gay pirate.
He does.
I actually realized
is Jack Sparrow gay?
Well, you just act every character Johnny Depp does is kind of gay. I realized though Jack Sparrow, it's not that. I thought it was really more of a character. It's not. It's just Johnny Depp when he's drunk. When you listen to the tapes,
It really is.
It's Keith Richards.
Yeah, I know, but it's Johnny Depp when he's drunk as well.
Yes.
If you listen to the tapes, he sounds like Jack Sparrow. He's talking to Amber Heard. He's, listen, you threw the door and you punched me. Don't tell me what it's like to be punched.
Stop running your lines.
They're like, hey, can you come in and read for this? Yes, but I'm drunk. That works perfectly.
That works perfectly. Give them the earpiece, we'll be gold. Before all that, we're going to hit some heavy stuff here today. It's time to watch and react. Now, you've heard about the shoplifters all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are Irish. And here's one that just happened recently. This is another...
Hoodlums.
Yes, those ne'er-do-wells.
Yes.
Good thing we can take care of them with a good old cop on his beat with his billy club.
Potato eaters. You mean the Irish that take care of the Irish?
Yes, exactly. We're going to take out our own trash.
Yes.
So this happened at Best Buy, and this is another reason why, some jobs are not well suited to women. Here comes the robber. Now, hold on a second.
That wasn't bad. I mean, she tried to get in the way.
Did I say women? I'm sorry. That was a bad... What I meant to say was white women, because who can forget this?
Big woman, move, head.
Well, yeah. Was that a woman?
Well, it was Moana, grown up.
Oh, that's what I thought. Oh, wow.
She just stopped. She was just like an old lineman, like, no!
That's impressive.
Yeah, that was really good.
Good for her.
Good for her. Honestly, I would love to have her on the show.
Yeah.
She'd say, you're racist. No, I love to see a black woman beat up a criminal. I don't care who's beating up the criminal.
No, especially if it's a black woman, just because it's funny, because it's a woman.
Yeah.
And she's beating you up.
Yeah. And it's well deserved.
It's a good bouncer to have. Yeah. It's like, all right, she'll throw you out.
Yes.
Happened. I got thrown at Buffalo Wild Wings by a lady.
What about she threw him through the sign?
Yeah.
She just kept going and committed, like, I've stopped you. No, you're going through the sign.
Yeah. She's like, get the closeout sale, mother!
That's right!
He's like, oh, well, that is a... He's going down. He's like, 30% off. That is a good deal.
Uncle! I think I put myself.
Oh, by the way, we need to admonish.
No.
Admonish Gerald because that Marine story yesterday on the porch.
No.
Turns out, admonish him. Turns out it wasn't real. It was staged.
Really?
That's what people are saying. Now, I will say this. We have never actually gotten a news story wrong. The only things we've ever gotten wrong is where it's a clip that we think is really funny.
It's still really funny.
It's still, and you know what? It's worth it.
Good performance, guys.
It was cathartic.
Oh.
It was still one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Now, I told you guys about that clip. I couldn't find the video, though. That was the whole thing. Somebody else, independent from me, put it in there on their own.
Gerald made the call.
Yeah, Gerald made the call.
I did not make the call at all. I didn't even promote it to anybody.
Someone get Jocko Willink on the line. Extreme ownership.
Yes, somebody needs to own that they put that in there and it wasn't me.
Oh, he hasn't read the book. Okay.
It won't take you very long.
I'll read it at 4
You can slide it under the door.
Yes.
408, my bad.
So here's something else again that is affecting you, right? And we'll talk about the great replacement theory.
Admonish.
After you. Just no. Look, the admonish is not to be used that way. You don't use it willy-nilly.
The rule is take responsibility.
You need to respect the admonish button. Like Magnolia. Respect the admonish. Now, Dave's the only one who knows the one-word change in that line.
Yes.
So, not a good film. Gas prices, though, before we get to the great replacement. This is affecting
like raining frogs.
Yeah. Sorry.
No one cares but me and you. Yeah.
That's a horrible film.
I didn't think it was horrible, but then that happens and you're like, well, this is enough.
Yes. I think I can just go to bed early.
Yeah. Oh, good, great.
So gas prices around the country here, they're skyrocketing. And I believe what we have is a clip from CNN this morning, right? So this is something, I was watching CNN this morning, and by watching, I mean it was playing on my phone through a speaker in the shower. I have no time for myself in the morning. And I was getting mad in the shower because this just shows the disconnect. Again, the disconnect between you and those in media. So they acknowledge that we have record high gas prices. Now, that should be, we have record high gas prices.
Yeah.
And you should not be blamed for it. But CNN decides to come up with a solution, and it is as bad as it gets. This was just this morning, a couple hours ago.
The next looming crisis, fuel shortages. This is diesel prices skyrocket. Diesel right now at a record $5.58 a gallon today. And key tanks like these that you're seeing in New York Harbor, those tanks supply the Northeast, and they're running dry.
But the consumer holds some power to turn the tide of high prices. A relentless buying and spending inflicted on a brittle supply chain are contributing to the high price of diesel.
And at some point, the consumer's going to say, all right, enough's enough. I gotta slow down because this is taking too much of my disposable income. If we do have a pullback in economic activity, that might help.
Economy.
With all your disposable income.
But Eric, that
it gets
really
worse.
important to just mention one more time that the consumer, you and I and people at home, do hold a lot of power to potentially lowering prices. If we decide to stop spending more on goods and services, that will bring down, presumably, the price of diesel because we won't need as many ships, as many trains and planes to get goods to our front door.
What she just described is a recession. Hey, consumers, if you stop making the economy go round, stop putting gas in your car, stop buying food and, I don't know, formula, things you need to eat, and then guess what? Then we can unemploy the people who run shipping companies and who run trains. This is their solution. It's literally, I hate to say this, but when people talk about a crash, the Great Reset being orchestrated, you combine this with leftists like Vox saying that you shouldn't be breastfeeding even with a formula shortage.
Yeah.
You go, well, how can you guys be wrong on everything? And not only wrong, but advocating for people to act wrongly.
Well, I don't know about running trains. I think the porn industry is doing pretty well.
That's true.
We can, Stephen, basically,
Chatsworth is a bubble.
We can get rid of cancer if we just kill the patient. That's essentially the solution that she just proposed. And by the way,
don't give them medicine.
I just want you to understand that diesel prices will not be affected by planes because they run on jet fuel, not diesel.
Well, there are some planes that run on diesel.
No,
like the Diamonds.
That's not true.
The Diamonds, and that's actually something that's a good example. There have been very little advancements in personal aviation because of the unbelievable FAA restrictions. We should be advancing. They put Mercedes engines in planes that are diesel engines, and these are some of the most reliable personal planes. Right now, there should be a boom in personal aviation. A lot of you think that you have to have a Learjet. No, I'm talking about getting an affordable plane where you can pop in 2 people or 4 people, SUVs of the sky. There are a few options out there, but they're incredibly expensive because it takes like 2 decades to bring to market.
Yeah.
So you know what you can buy? An experimental aircraft. So there are two separate markets right now. But right now, ticket prices for air. I just paid $2,000 for a flight to see my aunt. That might not be that much. It may be like $1,400.
Well, it's close enough. That shouldn't be that much.
No, it's like $1,000.
I know.
To fly to Detroit, dude. It's nuts, man.
Absolutely insane.
It's like $600 if you want to upgrade. You're like, I'm sorry, what?
Well, the good news is, if you stop purchasing plane tickets and no longer see your family, then of course American Airlines can go under, and then we can bail them out. So back to you, John.
Very cool. We can print money.
Yeah.
And then your dollar's worth less.
Yes. By the way, before we get to some of this with the gas prices and what's happening, there are really just two questions you need to ask yourself. And we'll have all the references available. But when you speak with other people about this, and they try and present, well, actually, it's international and it's Russia, and okay, let's assume that that's a factor. Okay. Are there actions that we could be taking here in the United States to increase our energy capacity here in this country? Meaning, let's shut out the rest of the world. Are there actions that we could take here in the United States? The answer is unequivocally yes. Are we doing that? No. We're doing the opposite of that.
Yeah. First day in office, and he was proud to do it. Keystone, bye-bye. Nord Stream 2, hey, welcome to the...
Just ask yourself those two questions, and then you can get to the why. But yesterday, gas prices nationwide, okay, they broke records. They were talking about diesel, but 9th day in a row. At a certain point, stop measuring. Stop saying it's a record. It's like Phelps.
Yeah, he comes out to, like, check. You're like, hey, guys, you've another record.
Yeah, it's like McDonald's. It's like, stop changing the number on the sign. We get it. You're doing good, McDonald's.
You killed
millions,
I understand.
Now do deaths.
Yes. Yeah.
So gas
do
increased
arteries.
16 cents in a week, 48 cents in a month, $1.52 in the last year. The average in the country right now is $4.58 per gallon, according to AAA. Regular unleaded gas in California is $6.06. But they have a surplus, said Gavin Newsom. Yeah, when you tax and you overcharge, and then people are leaving, so you don't have to spend money on them.
Yeah, when you steal from your citizens, of course you have a surplus.
Of course, yeah. So did the royalty before Robin Hood got to work. This is just, it's one of those issues. Well, you can just stop driving.
Yeah.
Or you can just stop purchasing.
You're being very selfish getting behind the wheel of your own car,
Right.
filling it with gas that's $19 a gallon.
Yes.
Well, and we're heading into summer when this is just going to get worse.
There's a formula shortage. Shut that baby up.
Why is it crying? Why is it so needy?
Why are you raising such a little bitch?
No, don't use your breasts.
No. Then you'll lose your bodily autonomy, said Vox. That's an actual thing.
We almost ran
Seriously?
the story today. Yes, I read
They listed the negative ramifications of breastfeeding. And I'm going by rote, but I'm pretty sure someone that can bring up the graphic. It said fatigue, inability to work, anxiety, loss of bodily autonomy. That's what it's for! It's the only thing they're for. And fun, but primarily...
Wow.
Yeah. The many costs. Now,
and then they had a picture of a lady who's
tough,
like,
gross nipples?
Yes.
Why are you feeding your baby?
What do you want to look like, a bitch from a puppy mill?
Oh, gross.
Buy some Similac, you whore.
Those are for slapping, not for feeding.
Oh, it's really bad.
Yeah, there's another one where there's a picture of a lady, and she's like, I'm losing my bodily autonomy.
Yeah. Everyone's going to think I'm gross.
What? Wait, you're losing your bodily autonomy by feeding your children?
This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
So they say, don't breastfeed, okay? Just don't drive, okay? Just don't purchase goods and services.
With your money that you've worked for.
Which is worth less now because we're creating unbelievable inflation.
Just burn your money and that will supply will go down and the dollar will be more valuable.
The only problem is that's highly illegal.
Oh.
Legal tender and what have you.
You can't burn money?
Yeah, look, right here. What does it say? It says, judgment for... So this is the emotional health trauma. Keep this up for me.
It looks like an ebony greeting card.
Yes. No, keep it up. Keep it up. I told you, keep it up. Just because Dave made me laugh, don't take it down. This is the toll on the emotional health. Judgment from strangers, significant loss of time, exhaustion, loss of bodily autonomy.
Why would you put this out to people?
This is how they view babies, folks. That baby's trying to make you exhausted and drain you of your bodily autonomy. You had it.
Yeah. Well, look, you do get exhausted, yes, but that's part of it. My wife is breastfeeding right now. It is work to do it, but it is incredibly rewarding to be able to do that if you can for your child.
She is breastfeeding. By the way, Gerald, save some for the baby.
Stop. Honey, I know you're watching right now. I apologize for Steven.
Did I clean my milk mustache?
Dave's
not invited to dinner anymore either.
Which is always an odd commercial to me. Like, who's spending money on milk campaigns?
I thought we were allowed to choose what meal we wanted.
Yeah,
Nope, it's not a buffet.
well, the choice is it's different. It's like you have a choice for normal, vegan, and then kosher. It's not just you can't just sexually assault.
Normal, vegan, and shotgun.
So gas prices are at an all-time high. This affects all of you, and we actually have to show what's going on here in our locale. We actually sent on the ground, of course, our on-the-ground getting the scoop correspondent Thomas Finnegan to gas stations to see what is happening. Let's go. Mr. Finnegan, okay, can you tell us what's happening here?
I'm here outside a local gas station.
Right.
The lowdown on why the prices are so high around the country. As you can see, $4.39 a gallon is hardly a bargain.
No. I don't advise. You shouldn't be. Finnegan, is his earpiece even working? Finnegan?
No.
Finnegan, can you hear me? Can we not do the cigarettes?
Bad idea.
Finnegan.
Sign clear.
Yeah. Yes.
There's a lot of reasons why prices could be so high. One of them is that it's just currently not gas season. As vegetables are more expensive in the wintertime, so is gas at specific times of the year. Another factor is Elon Musk is sending spaceships to outer space, and those spaceships take a lot of gas and they don't run off of batteries.
That's not the factor at all.
We're going to do our due diligence and check out one more location to make sure that we have all the information possible.
But you've given no information thus far. Well, we'll check back in with him, but I don't have high hopes.
And at least he's consistent.
I asked him if he quit smoking, and he said, I quit quitting and spit on my shoe.
Yeah,
he's in a mood.
It's a touchy topic for him.
Yeah.
The alimony is not easy.
No, he's not happy about it.
Poor guy. He has to pay alimony on what he doesn't make. I know, I pay him.
Really weird.
So, hey, you guys remember the Department of Misinformation, the Ministry of Truth?
Yeah.
Well, we talked about this yesterday, but it is officially dead.
Yes.
That's good.
I know.
You take the wins where you can get them.
Yeah, of course.
And they have said that it has been paused indefinitely, which means dead.
Which, bye-bye.
So with the pause, remember Nina Jankowicz?
Yeah.
She was she was the worst. She decided to step down. She told CBS, with the board's work paused and its future uncertain, I have decided to leave DHS to return to my work in the public sphere. Oh,
you
good.
were fired. You didn't step down.
No, I left. It was me.
It's like when Sears closed down and the CEO's like, I think I'm going to quit.
Yes. Well, there is no Sears.
You can't fire me. I quit.
Like, all right.
Why don't I fit in? It is deeply disappointing that mischaracterizations of the board became a distraction from the department's vital work, and indeed, along with recent events globally and nationally, embodies why it is necessary. I love how basically they said, all right, let's just get rid of this because it's not necessary. She's like, that's why it's most necessary.
They said, we're going to get rid of this because it's a terrible idea, and everybody saw that it was a terrible idea.
Well, like Amber Heard and people like her, not all women, just a significant portion of them, particularly in the entertainment industry with histrionic personality disorder. The left is claiming that Jankowicz was the victim of coordinated online attacks. This is at Washington Post by Taylor Lorenz. She wrote, Jankowicz has been subject to an unrelenting barrage of harassment and abuse, while unchecked misrepresentations of her work continue to go viral. Keep in mind, this is Taylor Lorenz running interference for this crazy radical feminist, pro-censorship leftist advocate, right? So she's the one running the Department of Misinformation. And then you have Taylor Lorenz, who, by the way, docks the libs of TikToks. In case you forget, this is her at their house. And she's talking about mischaracterizations and abuse.
Oh, I guess there isn't a chapter on quitting and going home when things get hard.
I guess no,
she doesn't write books about that.
She doesn't write books about that.
No.
Sorry.
And by the way, in case you wanted to book,
she wore a mask.
In case you wanted to book this batshit harpy for an engagement in the future, she has some conditions. This is Jankowicz. She wrote. And by the way, I'm going to read this exactly as she wrote it.
Can you define it?
And Dave, you're going to see why.
All right.
As a comedian, you'll appreciate the lack of appreciation she has. So she says, a note on Manels. I will not participate as a moderator of an all-male panel or Mantle? Okay. She leads with Mantles to act as though we all know, but then she immediately concedes that you don't know. It's a thing I'm trying to make a thing. Stop trying to make Mantle or fetch a thing.
Well, if you're on it, it's not a Mantle.
No.
You'd be the factor.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be the third Wannel.
Yeah.
She's like, don't include me in those.
I don't want to be on a Wumble.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, wish granted, not included.
Right.
Yeah. No problem. You weren't invited.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to go anyway. I quit.
Yeah, I'm done.
I'm done. I don't want to be part of your student panel anyway. I'm going to go start my own panel. Oh, that one was dissolved too? Damn, I can't catch a break.
Yeah, you like to go to a lot of places you weren't invited to.
Yes. So a note on Mantles. I will not participate as the moderator of an all-male panel or Mantle, and I will seriously reconsider my participation if your organization has any Mantles on its agenda for the event in question. Then she went on to say, this is her, by the way. It's like, this is not a good job application.
No.
This is not something that you should put on your LinkedIn.
Well, unless you're applying to be a bitch.
Yes. Well, then
you're hired.
Like the cut of your jib.
We pay very little and we harass quite a bit.
Yes. Welcome.
How's 79 cents sound to you?
If you need if you need references for women experts, please ask, or better yet, consult the websites. Consult these websites. Women Also Know Stuff, Interrupted, SheSource, or Google, which should tell you everything you need to know about Google. That it's right alongside Women Interrupted and SheSource.
Well, it's all Women Know Stuff, Also Know Stuff. I'm like, wait a minute, that's Gerald Knows Stuff. So they stepped on my name.
Yeah. Yes.
That's terrible.
And I love how they're conceding ground. Women also know stuff. Like, why don't you just call it Women Know Stuff? Yeah. Well, because men know more stuff, but we know things also.
Yeah, you're kind of putting yourself down.
Yeah, exactly.
Interrupted.
Oh my gosh.
Well, maybe it's because you go on too long.
Yeah.
Victim complex.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe you're not interrupted. Maybe it's just that you never shut up.
Yeah. I think that's maybe it.
I'm so glad this person is not in charge of truth anymore.
I appreciate that you used a gender-neutral description.
This person.
Yes.
Person.
I didn't want to say something ugly.
I don't know the pronouns for bitch.
And I'm glad you pointed out what she doesn't do. Truth.
Yes.
Well, that's, yes.
But her truth, which is a lie.
Or any man with self-respect.
Yes. She doesn't do that either.
No, she does not.
Yeah. The TikToker.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's gotta be. You have to be into like bondage or S&M or humiliation to date someone like that, right? Like, yeah, let's go out to dinner and you can just put me down in front of the wait staff.
Exactly.
Just press me down in front of my family.
Yeah, order for me.
Yeah.
No all-male spaces, okay? I will not be the only woman to break the barrier.
He'll have the Cosmopolitan. I don't want the... He'll have the Cosmopolitan!
Okay.
Oh, yes, I will. All right. She's like friends with Jada.
Did you?
So it's okay.
Did you just pull my chair out for me? Just breaks his hand.
When she walks in the room, Will Smith slaps somebody. So.
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah, she definitely. I guarantee you, she has those pinked eyes.
This is one of those. And by the way, the concern here is they're just going to do this in private. They thought this shows the disconnect again. They thought they would announce, look, we have a radical feminist at a department of misinformation, and they were expecting like, and instead everyone said, what? And they said, never mind. So they're just going to do it privately because they realize that they need to push their agenda in an underhanded way as it relates to the American people, specifically with Latinos and Black Americans. Democrats are going to lose them the second that these demographics find out what they actually want. Right. When you look on the individual issues, it's not even close. So, by the way, we were this close, think about it, this close to having a radical, man-hating feminist determine what is true and false on all of social media, in all of America. Thank God we dodged that bitch, but think about how close we were to it. So Nina Jankowicz, thank you. It's time to close.
In April, the Department of Homeland Security announced the creation of a Disinformation Governance Board. Now, the woman appointed to lead that effort is a woman named Nina Jankowicz. She's a former Disinformation Fellow at the Wilson Center and the author of the book, How to Lose the Information War.
I want to be rich, famous, and powerful. Step on all my enemies and never do a thing.
Time to close. Ending.
President Biden's disinformation czar quit today.
2022 to barely later in 2022.
Yeah. I have never had douche chills quite like that when they're singing.
She's the Timothy Dalton of misinformation stars.
Oh. I want to be rich and powerful.
Back to TikTok.
Yeah. Good thing. Yeah. Model yourself after a dishonest Ethel Merman. Yes. I want to be like Ethel Merman, but lie a lot.
This is terrible.
Say no more.
Come to the right place. We've started a branch of government for you.
And in 2 weeks, that branch is going to fall.
Yeah.
So you're kind of going out on a limb, and we don't care.
Yeah, you did the exact job we thought you would do.
Hey, they lasted longer than CNN Plus, I think.
That is true.
That is true.
So at least you know, Nina Jankowicz, you have Brian Stelter's jealousy, and no one can ever take that from you. Which, by the way,
he's jealous over your handbag as well.
Yes. No one can ever take from me my Built Bars. If you go to Built.com and use the promo code Crowder15, you get 15% off your next order. Don't listen to Joe Lewis in the intro. Do not send trash. That's a problem that we're trying to get him to stop doing.
Yes.
And I don't feed him Built Bars anyway, so I don't know what he's complaining about. Because it's real chocolate. These things are delicious. I use them just as desserts. This is the birthday cake box because we've run out of all the other boxes.
Yeah.
I don't like birthday cake, okay? I just don't like birthday cake, period. I got sick on it one year, so I can't eat anything that tastes like birthday cake. But people who like birthday cake love this stuff. I love the chocolate ones. The peanut butter.
Oh, yeah.
The fudge brownie.
But a huge fan of candles.
No, those are terrible, too.
But it depends on how they're scented.
I'd light them and leave them in your place, and then you throw up when you walk in the door.
It's true.
Yeah.
Kind of fun for me.
Yeah, but they're sponsored because I actually use their stuff. No one needs protein bars. One thing you need to take it and get jacked, but it's a good way to replace desserts and have something that just actually tastes good.
Did you work out with those?
Yeah, I do.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you just eat them.
But this is the thing. There's so many people all over Instagram like, you want to know how I got big? It's like, Turinabol? It's because I took this tea. And it's like, oh, okay, The Rock.
Sure, that's natural at 50.
Yeah.
Sure, you just keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Totally like all people that age.
And your forehead raised 3 inches like a Three Stooges sketch.
Yeah.
You and Mark McGuire.
He's got so much juice in him, it doesn't know where to go. It's just creating body parts.
Yes. He has a tattoo that reads "The Rock made from concentrate."
Yes.
So, here's something that we should talk about too before we get to the Great Replacement Therapy, because it's therapy. Why am I saying therapy?
I don't know.
The Great
Back to you, Bob.
That's a perfect answer. I haven't a clue.
I have no idea.
They don't call him the best color guy in the business for no reason.
Yes, exactly. You're like the Dennis Miller of the NFL.
I bet you had TRT on the mind because we're talking about all the roads.
Oh, yeah, it's probably we were talking about therapy. Yeah. No, really, that's not steroids. Old guys should be taking that stuff.
Inner thigh therapy? Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah. Well, that's the thigh master therapy.
Yes.
You need to update your training methods.
I have, but I bought so many.
He has so many thigh masters and buns of steel VHS tapes.
I literally don't have furniture.
He just sits on stacks of videos.
The Health Rider Day.
So there was a shooting that happened last week, and everyone's been talking obviously about. I was about to say Milwaukee but no, they're not talking about Milwaukee. They're talking about Buffalo. So there was Dallas, there was Orange County, there were Milwaukee. These were the worst shootings, and they're only discussing Buffalo.
Yeah.
Okay. There was another shooting last week though that is getting almost no national coverage, and I wanted to bring it to your attention because. For the life of me, I can't figure out why.
I may have an idea.
Police say the black suspect who shot 3 women at a Korean hair salon was angry at all Asians because of a bad experience during a traffic accident with an Asian driver. Hello, everybody. I'm Steve Eager. It's 9 o'clock. An arrest warrant affidavit for 37-year-old Jeremy Smith says that was the reason for his hatred of Asians was relayed to police by his girlfriend. She also told them Smith was once fired for attacking an Asian boss. He was arrested while working a temporary landscaping job and charged with 3 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. In addition to the salon shooting, police are looking at whether he shot at 2 other Asian-owned businesses.
Well, I'm noticing a theme, and this was not covered. That was local media, right? You would think it'd get national coverage.
No. That's just local.
Who could have possibly predicted such a strange turn of events as far as the identity of this shooting? If only someone.
They just announced that they have made an arrest in the Dallas shooting of a Korean-owned hair salon. CNN just covered the entire story. I didn't hear any mention of race, but it was a Korean-owned salon, and I'm just curious if the race is known. So you guys look it up and see if the race...
That just happened? There was a shooting in a Korean salon?
It happened a couple of days ago. I don't know how many people...
Remember when one happened? I don't remember if it was in Texas. The guy shut up the massage parlor, and it was racially motivated.
No, that was because in Georgia or something.
It was because they didn't want to give him handies?
Yeah. Yeah.
He went to the wrong salon for that. It's like, no,
Yeah,
no.
you gotta go to the
Don't do
right
that.
place.
This was from an hour ago, but the Dallas Morning News says that the police announced the arrest early Tuesday, but did not provide the suspect's name. So I don't think we're going to get the race.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't. The name.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just curious.
one guess.
Weird.
I tell you, that Zoltar machine in the green room is the best investment we ever
Best
did.
thing ever.
I still in the group heart weighted big.
Yeah. And by the way, if you think that they didn't know who this person was from the outset, you're wrong. They had this story. When that story ran on the 17th, they had this information, but it was then removed.
And by the way, just like if you have to pay for gas at the pump, it's your fault. You should stop purchasing gas. If you notice the statistical trend in crime in this country, particularly as it's perpetuated against Asians, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be doing that. And that's where we're going to discuss the Great Replacement Theory next. But let's hit this. So this was last week. The guy was 37-year-old Jeremy Smith. It was at Harold Salon in Dallas, Texas. Shot 3 women.
Yeah.
Luckily, thank God, none of them were killed. It is being investigated. I mean, I don't know.
As a hate crime, another hate crime, right?
Hate crime.
Because it can't be racist from a black person to another
Well,
race, right?
as far as motive, because sometimes you don't want to just. Here's the thing: just because a white guy shoots somebody, it's not because he happens to be white. And just because a black guy shoots somebody, it doesn't necessarily mean it's because he's black, of
course,
or because the victim is white or the victim is Asian. That doesn't determine motive. In this case, though, the girlfriend did say, anytime the suspect Smith is around anyone of Asian descent, he begins having delusions that the Asian mob is after him or attempting to harm him. So that seems pretty clear.
That's weird. I don't know why you would date him.
Yeah.
Why would the Yakuza be coming after you, Mr.
What are you, counting cards?
Well, perhaps he owes money to someone.
Well, that may be true.
Maybe it's very legitimate.
But did he travel to Japan just to screw with the Yakuza to come back? I mean, it's a pretty insular world.
But why would you, you're Asian. You're just like, what do you like? Well, long walks on the beach. I like to watch movies. I also freak out every time I see an Asian person.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, let's go out.
Let's go to a Korean salon.
I go into an epileptic seizure and wake up later, and they're dead.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Like, no. Well, you know what? Sounds like it's a man who's a fixer-upper.
As long as you've never been on a mantle.
He's a bad boy. I like men that I can fix.
I love that you're so open.
He's a fixer-upper. Oh, he's got a gun.
No, I've made some bad decisions.
Bad aim.
So let's sort of compare. Then, remember what our former vice president said after the Atlanta spa shooting last year, the salon shooting that we just discussed.
There are simply some core values and beliefs that should bring us together as Americans. One of them is standing together against hate, against racism, the ugly poison that has long haunted and plagued our nation.
And I want to be clear, again, that wasn't racially motivated. It was just a guy who was mad because he was a sex fiend.
Yeah, but they immediately went to the racial motivation for a white guy who shot, I believe, 3 people. Well, no, he may have shot 5 people or something.
He shot enough.
He shot enough. Immediately they went to race.
Right.
Immediately.
In this Now,
case, they excluded it from the conversation.
Well, here's the thing. Here's how former Vice President Biden addressed when we basically have an anti-Asian manifesto and with the kind of insanities that you would only see from someone with serious psychiatric disorders and also racist. So let's see how former Vice President Biden addressed the shooting where we know the motive in Dallas.
That's very similar to how he addressed all the Asians getting killed in New York City.
You mean they didn't want to be shoved in front of the L train?
I guess.
I just thought it was a thing.
Why would you stand that close to it?
I just thought they were adrenaline junkies.
No.
So bad.
So here's also, by the way, Ginger Snap was here just to give you a little bit of insight. He went over there to the salon and he noticed one thing: the salon where they shot. Bring up those images. No guns allowed.
No guns.
Did he not see the sign?
I don't know. No. Apparently the force field lapsed.
That's crazy.
Maybe he's illiterate.
Well,
maybe just.
Wait, hold on a second. People are gonna be more mad when I say he's illiterate and he just shot Asian women.
Well, it wasn't because of anything other than he just obviously didn't pay attention to the sign.
Or he can't read.
He could possibly not read.
Yeah. Well, he may not have understood what the Ghostbuster gun thing meant.
Who knows? We don't know.
Fair point.
He may not be able to read. We don't know if he drove Miss Daisy.
Well, if he can't read, then he's probably going to be not fit to stand trial.
Oh,
6 months from now,
quickly,
some other examples.
That's a good point.
Is he out yet on no bail?
The man who beat the old man in Detroit?
No, he's free to go.
Yeah, he's free to go.
Yeah, he's on the streets.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Right where the Lord wants him.
Yes. Point him to the old folks' home.
Yep.
He's got some mercy to give.
But I suggest Bob Evans at the early bird hour.
Yes, enjoy. It's an all-you-can-punch buffet.
Yes. That's just Golden Corral. That's all it is. So,
if there's one steak left.
Yeah. Ginger, it's not even sirloin. Ginger Snap actually asked business owners in the neighborhood about this, and none of the business owners had guns. And most of the Korean business owners, they found guns scary, and they said that the police would help. So this is just anecdotal. I'm letting you know there were discussions that were taking place.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Look, Asian Americans right now, and just to be clear, I know people say, oh, well, how can you speak? I'm not speaking for you. I'm not Asian American. I'm speaking to you. I'm speaking with you. You know who else is an Asian American? Former Vice President Biden. I guess Kamala is when she chooses that it's convenient. But come on.
You ain't black.
Let's be honest. But Democrats don't give a crap about you. They use you. Remember when it Stop Asian Hate? What happened with that? Once the statistics came out, they don't care. Hey, where are the Democrats fighting against the quotas that you're seeing at universities right now? There's happened in Harvard and Brown where they say, no, we have too many Asians. Where are they? Right now, I'm telling you, I do. I care. And by the way, I don't just so you know, Asian Americans, before you start feeling super special, I don't care about you any more than I care about any other form of American, white American, black American. I'm just saying that I want you to have the same rights and fighting chance. I want you to arm yourselves. I want you to be able to protect your businesses. I encourage you to protect your businesses. And I encourage you to go to states that allow you to protect your homes and businesses. Because as you see, the police cannot save you.
Yeah, I want somebody like Mr. Smith to be terrified that somebody is going to shoot him as he walks in with the gun in his hand trying to shoot them. I want somebody to go, I don't know if I can go in there because these guys might have a gun as well, instead of going, there's no way. They got a sign on the door that says no guns. Perfect.
Yeah. What do you think would stop a shooter like him more effectively? The sign that says no guns or a turret?
Well, what if it's a turret of signs?
Well, it could be all. Well. Also, let me update you, too, on Milwaukee. Another thing that I want to say thing because it's not one shooting. It was several shootings, right? There are 3 suspects who were arrested. There was a shooting that injured 16 people. Jeez. And there were other, I believe it was over 20 when you add them all up.
Yeah, there was an earlier shooting, I believe, to that one that happened probably a few hours or so before on that same night.
Yeah, and of course, look, the reason the media isn't really covering it so much is the same reason they don't cover Chicago. And I understand it's not the same as someone running in, shooting up a school, gang-related. But guess what? A lot of kids get tripped up in gang-related activity. Not only in actual shootings in bad areas of town where often black people have to live. And I'm saying that because you say that. You say it when you talk about climate justice. Yes, many black Americans live in poorer areas where there is more significant crime. Kids get caught in crossfire all the time, not to mention kids get recruited at a young age in these areas. So gang crime is relevant. And that is why when you look at mass shootings, it's not the angry white guy who commits the vast majority of them. People are just wrong about that. These statistics matter. Hey, Asians, statistically, you're most likely, very, very likely, to be violently assaulted by a black person. Hey, black Americans, statistically, you are most likely to be shot and killed, not by a white guy, not by a cop, by another black person. Now,
empathy is not ignoring that fact. That's what I really don't like about it.
I know.
It just makes zero sense to me.
Well, and focusing every bit of your effort on these tragedies, which deserve focus, but absolutely focusing no energy on, hey, Chicago, you guys had 15 to 20 people killed again this weekend.
Right.
Again this weekend. Are you going to do anything about that? Do those lives not matter? Do the innocent people that are getting shot, like you said, caught in the crossfire, do they not matter?
And the trick that they try and pull is that, well, are you saying all black people are violent? No, look, we just showed you 3 people, and depending on the reports, 16 to 20-something people shot. That's a very small percentage. In other words, if you look in Chicago, this is why mass shootings, I think they changed it from 3 or more to 4 or more, are often being perpetrated by a very small group of people, and they're doing it very often. Not most black people, but it's the huge percentage of black people are affected by the way this destroys their neighborhoods. We are not saying that most black people shoot. What we are saying is most crime, violent crime, is perpetrated by a very small percentage of black people who, but for some reason, because you're just talking about votes, you don't want to acknowledge. I don't want black people to have to live in fear. I don't want Asian salon owners to have to live in fear. And I don't want the white woman walking through a black neighborhood to have to live in fear. Is that even handed?
Well, it's because they selectively choose what race they want to tell you. So that's the problem.
Right.
So we have to bring
Every
up
time.
the other side of it. And by ignoring it, it just causes more death. You're not helping kids not join gangs. You're not helping get better education. You're not teaching firearm safety. All you're doing is sending more kids to the streets, more people to turn into this, and it's horrific.
Yeah. Well, they do have firearm safety courses. That's how they, teach you to aim it sideways.
Well, that's true. It's called Look Cool class.
Yes. Look, first 3 rules of firearm safety. Finger, always on that trigger, bitch. Sideways, and aim recklessly.
While running away.
Yes.
Shoot Kane while he covers up the kid in the big wheel.
There you go. We will now move on to concealed carry. No need for a holster, just put it in there. Now,
oh man,
you might lose your penis. Don't worry.
Cheddar Bob blew his neck out.
It's the risk you're willing to take. This is the life. The only way out is in a box. Oh boy. This is a weird shooting class.
I don't like this class at all.
This is also a funeral home.
Yeah. Yeah, by the way, we need to place another order for more embalming fluid. So let's get to this, the great replacement theory. This is the talk everywhere, and everyone is afraid. The left has been very effective in making people afraid to even address it. Now, let me be really clear here. I am not saying that the great replacement theory is a theory that needs to be espoused. What I am saying is that there has been a misrepresentation, of course, of shooters, how they've been influenced, and who is out there, right, preaching this idea of the great replacement theory. What they want to do now, people at CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, all of media, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, they want you to believe that it is mainstream republicanism to tout a neo-Nazi slogan of great replacement theory in order to silence you from discussing a very real issue of, I wouldn't even necessarily say race, I wouldn't even necessarily do the cop-out and just say culture, but voting demographics and the purchasing therein. So, in case you haven't heard, let's just go here so you see what I'm talking about. Everyone from the left has been, we have a montage, right? Them blaming Buffalo on the great replacement theory and racist conservatives. You.
Officials believe the gunman accused of the mass shooting in Buffalo was inspired by the white replacement conspiracy theory. Now, this is a baseless belief that white people are being slowly but intentionally replaced by minorities and immigrants.
The concept was once a fringe theory, but now it's embraced by many Republican lawmakers and Fox hosts.
For example, Fox News host Tucker Carlson. People count up this kind of stuff, so whether you watch him or not, the fact is that the people who do and who track this note that he has made a reference or variation to this type of hateful conspiracy theory, this replacement thing, over 400 times since 2016.
We also have, prominent talking heads, Tucker Carlson, Fox News, making hundreds of references, a study has shown, hundreds of references to this kind of great replacement theory.
Did you peer review that paper?
Of white genocide.
So when people like Tucker Carlson present a ready-for-cable version of the theory, it makes more extreme versions of it more accessible to audiences who would have never encountered it or would have never really thought about it.
Hate that through the media and politics, the internet, has radicalized, angry, alienated, lost, and isolated individuals into falsely believing that they will be replaced. That's the word, replaced.
Okay, so let me be clear about something. They're trying to use the term the great replacement theory. And the reason for that is that's basically an anti-Semitic sort of fringe theory that comes from people who believe that there's this cabal of Jews who are trying to replace white people. Okay. So, of course, I don't believe that. And this is very important for me. I would like to see a comment below because I would like people to see the biggest, right-leaning YouTube channel that's ever existed. If you agree with the sentiment I'm about to express, I don't think that George Soros is sitting there, killing white babies. Okay. But what is happening is demographic changes due to large amounts of illegal immigration occurring unchecked and being made the beneficiaries of the social safety net, the current welfare system in this country, in order to ensure their votes. I'm not saying there's a planned orchestration of genocide against white people, but there absolutely is a plan in place that is taking place right now before your very eyes in allowing mass illegal immigration into this country in order to try and change voting demographics. Now, I know you're going to say, hold on, and I want you to comment if you agree that that's what's happening, and I Didn't have to mention race once, by the way, let's be really clear. However, that exact sentiment has been expressed for years by the left, and they do make it a race thing. They call it the browning of America, and they brag about it.
In a few years, we're going to be a majority brown country. White people will not be the majority in the country anymore.
This will be the first generation ever in American history in which whites will be a minority of the generation at some point.
As of 2007, every year, babies being born in this country, whites now are the minority.
In 2044, everyone is going to be a minority.
As the demographics change, as white people become the minority in the country, which is coming.
Demographics is destiny.
Demographics is destiny.
Demographics is destiny, right? The country is changing.
I've been saying it here. Other people have been saying it here for years now, even before Donald Trump. The demographics is destiny.
The white population is declining for the first time in history in America, while the number of multiracial Americans have more than doubled.
So we live in a country where the demographics are changing. It's becoming less white.
Correct.
Okay. You'll be announcing that we're calling the 38 electoral votes of Texas for the Democratic nominee for president. It's changing. It's going to become a purple state and then a blue state because of the demographics, because of the population growth.
The growth in Texas has been almost entirely driven by non-white population growth, mostly by Hispanic and Latino population growth.
Demographics are destiny. So look, I think now it's fair. Hey, there's a huge difference between believing in the superiority of one's race versus acknowledging the changing of demographics. We have an overlay here. We have a reference. Let's go to overlay J. Really quickly. There you go. Those are the numbers. Those are the projections. Okay. And the left is bragging about it. Now, I'm going to get to the history a little bit of immigration, how this changed dramatically, and why there's a difference when people say, well, we're a country of immigrants. Well, that's true. Immigration up through the 1960s, certainly the 30s, 40s, not at all the same as today. Here's the primary difference. You cannot have open borders and you cannot have mass immigration when you have a social safety net and a welfare culture. It's very, very different.
Yeah.
And that's where we are right now. When that happens, you've got to close the books, or at least have a guest book. There's a huge difference between legal and illegal immigration. The left tries to act as though we throw it all together. Look, if you look at the Irish, the Italians, the Jews, these people in Europe who are fleeing wars, people will now say, oh, what happened to Statue of Liberty? Give us you're tired, you're hungry, you're poor. Yeah, at that point in time, there was no promise to feed the hungry, no promise to pay the poor from the taxpayer. That's a very different time. It was a very different reason for people migrating to this country, and it is not a scenario today that is tenable when you have people coming in and suckling at the public teat.
Well, yeah, and they looked at it as the land of opportunity.
Yes.
The way that they could go and work hard and make something for themselves, not a place to come and just get taken care of.
Yes,
that was the thing. It's a little bit different mentality.
Well, what happened is they were fleeing impending war, right? Throughout, obviously, I don't know if you're a history buff, but
yeah. Do you know
the early 20th century? No, there were two.
Several.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, they sort of they blew their wad when they called the first one like the Great War. They had no idea what was coming.
Oh no,
the Greater. Like this is the best war. Oh, that doesn't ring right.
Wait till you see 3. That's coming any minute.
So a lot of people were fleeing Europe, right? Because of these impending wars. They were constantly under the threat of tyranny. They wanted to be a part of America. They weren't coming here to get handouts. They were not coming here to this country to break the law. Not saying that everyone right now who's coming to this country is breaking the law, but a disproportionate amount of crime certainly committed on the southern border is by people who are here illegally. So they came here with no promises on boats. Few bucks in their pocket. Today, half of all immigrant households receive at least one major welfare program.
Wow.
And the left wants mass illegal immigration. Why? So they can guarantee a path to citizenship and they can get votes. Race has nothing to do with it. But here's the thing. At one point, race did have something to do with immigration policy. And I was going by rote this morning or last night when I was talking about this. I think a lot of you don't know that there was a proactive shift in immigration policy, you can thank Ted Kennedy, here in this country because they wanted to favor big corporations and keep a permanent working class. Okay. So let me kind of give you a little bit of a briefer. So after World War II, there were a lot of immigrants that were coming from Europe, and they were skilled. They were looking for good jobs. In other words, they weren't coming from countries that had not developed places. What do you mean? Honduras, El Salvador, Mexico, places that have not given anything else, and I mean this, anything else to the modern industrialized world. They were coming from places like Germany, like Poland, like parts of the UK.
Well, and very relatively similar cultures too.
Right. Relatively
Obviously
similar
different,
cultures.
but relatively similar.
And they were looking for good jobs. Now, here's the thing. A lot of CEOs didn't like that because you're talking about bringing immigrants coming in who are skilled, and so they'll want to be paid more.
Yeah.
Right? So there was a bill, Ted Kennedy supported this bill that cut off immigration from what we now know as the EU, opened it up wide to the Pacific Rim countries. Okay? It's called the Hart-Celler Immigration Act of 1965. And they claim it expands civil rights, as far as the movement to immigration and abolishing this national origins quota system. Really what it did is it actually made it nearly impossible for European immigrants to come here with more skills, with more education, because they believed, and why favor people from the Pacific Rim? Because you're talking about people who would come from manufacturing jobs where they were making pennies, go to the United States, and guess what? They were less likely to ask for more. And so this was the government saying, hey, CEOs, they want cheap labor. And right now, that's not necessarily, the Irish are coming in and opening up pubs. The Italians are coming in and, they're opening up restaurants and also organized crime. But I digress. They said, hey, the Germans are coming in and they're becoming engineers. These CEOs don't want that. So let's change our immigration policy to make sure that we bring in as unskilled, dependent, and therefore grateful to the government immigrants that we can. That was a decision that was made. You need to understand. When you go, hold on. A lot of you inherently think there's a difference. You go, well, if I look at the Irish and the Italians, sure, we were a country of immigrants, but it feels like there was something different. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. This is basically like us today saying, hey, China doesn't pay those kids that work in those factories very much. Can we get in on that action? Can we make it easier for them to come over here and just do that here?
Yeah. So what you're saying is like, okay, let's say America is a Buick.
Yes.
And Ted Kennedy, for example, would be a CEO.
Yes.
Okay, let's say it's driven into the water.
Yes.
Now the water is immigration, and it's filling the car. And now Americans are Mary Jo.
That's exactly.
Okay, so now Mary Jo is just getting surrounded.
Yes.
But
and the Democratic Party waits a day and a half to alert the authorities.
Correct.
Well, but here's the Democratic
Which really isn't
Party
even allegorical. That's actually what happened.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm going for help.
So the CEOs are just showing up all wet to a party and going, I was here the whole time.
Yeah. Oh, hey, you're all wet behind the ear.
Good one. Good one. Where's Mary?
Yeah, I killed the bitch. By the way, that's pretty good.
Oh, that little chatterbox.
Yeah, just so you know, because I know you watching right now, you may be 20 years old, 18 years old. We have more people in that demographic than any other. You may not know. Ted Kennedy killed abroad.
Yes.
Jeez. It's on record.
That he killed
it actually happened.
He drove her drunk into the Chappaquiddick River.
Yes, and then left her and lied about it and didn't even call for help, and she could have been saved. So just in case you're wondering what's this reference, it's not like some esoteric Dennis Miller. It's something that everybody
With no
knows.
consequences. Sorry, the last thing there. The guy that punched the guy got more consequences for that than Kennedy got for killing somebody.
Well, it's why the brothers got assassinated, and they looked at Ted and were like, all right, I think he'll be taken out fine.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not doing anything?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, well, we're only killing all the Kennedys who did sleep with Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
So,
that was the list.
There's nothing I can do.
No.
Terrible.
So, Joe, but you were going to talk. This is also now this comes to today. And all the references are available at louderwithcreditor.com.
Right.
There was a proactive approach in the bill, in America's legislative policy to basically say we don't want to bring in people who are coming from universities, coming from school. We want to bring in people from sweatshops because that's what's best for the CEOs.
Yeah, and so this bolsters their voting base. Like that's what Tucker Carlson was talking about when CNN ran hit pieces on Tucker Carlson right after this shooting. They ran him talking about illegal immigration, people coming in from the southern border, and so they're like, okay, well, how many? Nearly 1.5 million encounters thus far in fiscal 2022. I think it starts in October, so it's about halfway through the year, just a little bit over.
Yeah.
And compare that to 646,000 encounters for all of fiscal 2020. An entire year. That was
1.5.
Yeah, and that's
to 800.
No, just it's
646.
646,000. That's encounters.
That's like almost. It's like almost 3 times.
Well, but
not exactly.
In 2020, Donald Trump's last year, that was the number, right? And they're not even done yet. The 1.5 million will likely be 2.5 to 3 million, somewhere in that neighborhood by the time that fiscal year ends. So the next thing is, They actually, the Biden administration so far in this fiscal year, which is about 6 months old at the time that they gave the stat, has released over 836,000 illegal immigrants into the United States. The catch and release, that is more than the Trump administration encountered.
And by the way, how many of them are getting formula? We don't have those numbers, but a lot.
Yeah, quite a bit.
That's part of it, but the...
Shut your mouth. You think this is your country? What are you, a racist? But wait a second. I just want to buy formula. You're giving it to people who aren't even citizens. Shut your racist mouth.
Yeah. Well, the Supreme Court actually just heard a case where they basically wanted to get rid of the stay in Mexico policy, where Donald Trump said, look, if you're coming to this country illegally, the door is revolving. It goes right back into Mexico, and you can stay there. You can make your asylum claim there. You can get everything sorted out there. This administration changed that. They tried to change it by executive order, and it got challenged. Right. So that case has been heard. Hopefully we'll get a ruling on that this summer. But they are absolutely for, oh, you're here in the United States illegally? Okay, we'll set a court date for you. Go have fun.
Right.
And that's why Greg Abbott sent busloads up to Washington, D.C. and said, look, you're releasing them at our border? How about I bring them to your doorstep? Right. I'm not saying these are bad people. I'm just saying they're not doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Right? So that was the point they had. And they don't want a wall. They wanted to end Title 42, which basically was the COVID restriction.
No voter ID, because that's racist, even though 87% of black Americans want some kind of ID. But at that point, black Americans are inconvenient. So shut your racist mouth. Hey, black Americans, you think you should have voter ID? What are you, racist? Well, I need ID.
Yeah, but guess what? They're actually hedging their bets because they think voter ID is racist and they say you shouldn't have to have it to vote in this country, but they're also saying that everyone should get an ID just in case. I wonder why they're saying
because certain states are having ID laws. That's why.
Interesting.
And so they need to ensure that they can get votes. Again,
blue states?
Who knows?
Mostly Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. I can't think. Michigan, maybe something like that.
And let me end this. Look, it's about voting demographics. Just to be clear, I don't believe that people use interchangeably that race is destiny. Now, I also, by the way, this is something people won't like to hear. I also don't think there's anything wrong with white Americans wanting their neighborhood to look similar to how it looked with their dad and their grandparents. And, people tend to be comfortable around people they were raised with. Have you been to Mexican neighborhoods? In largely black neighborhoods? This is a natural process that takes place. Doesn't mean that you should seclude yourself, but I don't blame black people for watching black entertainment television. I don't blame Latino people for watching Telemundo. I understand that we have different tastes because we have different cultures. Melanin doesn't determine how you vote. Unfortunately, it's about buying votes from the Democratic Party. Like you said, they realized they weren't going to be able to buy the votes of, for example, Italian Americans who came here and started businesses and were paying taxes. They realized this back then, so they said, let's bring in a bunch of people who are basically indentured servants from these countries. So they'll be grateful to us, and they'll vote for us. Well, now you see that changing a little bit, right, with those same Asian Americans back then. You're no longer convenient for them, and you're starting to lean a little more right. So let's now bring in more people from Mexico. Let's make sure that our policy favors people coming from these countries, so that they, hey, look, you remember who helped you, right? You remember who brought you in? You remember who, even during a pandemic, we paused is it Title 42? We paused Title 40, right? Remember we gave you formula? Remember how to vote. Because on the issues, they can't. When you look at the issues of abortion, you look at the issues of even taxes, you look at the issues of what's taking place in schools, brown Americans, meaning all Latino Americans, and even Muslim Americans, I'm including them among brown Americans and black Americans, overwhelmingly would align with a center-right point of view. So they try to make it about things that they give you, so they can purchase your vote. And then, as we see today, they only use you when it's convenient. So look, it's not, I want to be really clear about this. It's not about race, but it's not just about culture, because people say it's not just race, it's culture. There's a part of that for sure. We all have different cultures. But let me present something to you, okay? This is something with white supremacists that really bothers me. To the actual white supremacists, and there are very few, like to the four of you. Look,
the boots?
Yeah. There are 50% of white people, actually probably more, in our country, who share your same culture, and they vote Democrat. And by the way, right now, think about it, and I understand demographics will change, and so you're concerned about that. However, let's assume those demographics change. The demographics are already bad enough when you take people from your own race and from your own culture. You can't say that it was black people. You can't say that it was brown people who screwed you with Barack Obama. It was white people with Bill Clinton, with Jimmy Carter. So I just want to make sure people are going to come and say, oh, it's a cop-out. I'm not saying that there aren't differences inherently between races. I'm not saying that there aren't differences culturally that often have to do with how people are that are racially based. I'm not saying any of that. But what I am saying is the primary issue is not that, and that's not how the Democrats are thinking of it. They're thinking of whose votes can we buy. And well, why don't you talk about half of this country whose votes have been bought? I would take 10 brown people who look and act differently from me for every white person who shares my race and culture and is voting to take my rights away. I'd rather have 10 Latino American, assuming, by the way, let's be clear, all legal immigrants, versus one Swedish immigrant who comes in and wants a social safety net system and, by the way, now has lost his bragging rights of being neutral as his shitty country tries to join NATO. How about this? Once you pay up the back bill, pay your tab and you can get in. The problem is that we have right now a system of immigration laws and it starts these people, and by these people, right now I mean, yeah, primarily brown people. I mean, yeah, primarily people coming from South America by design, just because geographically it's easiest for them to come in illegally, and it's in the Democratic Party's best interest for the immigrants to be illegal. Think about that for a second. That by itself, it's in the best interest of the Republican Party and of the American people for immigrants to be coming here legally. It is absolutely, unequivocally, in the best interest of the Democratic Party for them to enter illegally. That's why their policy reflects it. What does that tell you? They want to bring in people at an intentional deficit and then promise them a fix at the cost of your tax dollars. So when people try to bring up the Great Replacement Theory and blame you for a mass shooting, hopefully this helps you, because you don't need to be afraid to address the real issue of demographics. The left has been bragging about it for years. All right, and by the way, speaking of this, and speaking of what's affecting you in taxes, I think we actually have him back now.
He didn't blow up?
Thomas, he's our on-the-ground reporter, has gone to another gas station. It's time to go on the ground with Thomas Finnegan.
Yo, I swear it's so hot, bro. But it's like one of the hottest days so far. It's only 89 degrees, but it was. It was supposed to be hotter. It's supposed to be like 93 today or something. It's really fucking warm in here.
I don't understand at all what that has to do with what is it, the tides on the gas? Yeah, I think that takes that's the same place. It doesn't for any place. We would be all right if we use the company card to get some gas and stick to it. Yeah, no, you don't have a company card. We have an issue before. You need to make a form. Okay, I'll my favorite day of the week, Chat Thursday, get from local members. But after today's show, let it never be said that we here did not take a risk. Share if you can. That's what the YouTube algorithm favors. And comment your thoughts below. I've talked to a lot of people about this, and you know what? There are far more of you out there than you think. So you mean racist? No. I mean anti-racist. You racist sons of bitches and just bitches. So YouTube, piss off.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Right. I may need to take a break from up here. I'm gonna keep the AC going though.
recently I was walking around in Boston. I went to a museum, and this like older man walked up to me. I had no idea who I was. He was just enjoying the art, also in the museum. He started talking to me forever about my voice and then there was a college, some sort of trip to the museum, and then everybody started freaking out. And it was so cool just to have someone stop me about my speaking voice, because that had never happened to me before. I think because I was turned around and I had the mullet, so I could have been, anybody. I could have been anyone.
It's a heavy voice.
It's a heavy voice.
You didn't always have a heavy voice, though. Like when my kids love Hannah Montana, by the way.
Yeah.
So when your voice was different.
It's definitely changed. I kind of learned a lot about the voice and how our experiences affect our voice. I had a surgery in November on my voice. I had something called Reicki's edema, which when my doctor told me about it, he said, no one shy ever has this. This is for abuse of the voice. This is for people that talk way too fucking much. And usually this happens when you're like in your 60s or 70s.
How do I not have that?
I don't know. I don't know. Mine, I think, honestly, really, I started touring probably 12 or 13, and not only was the adrenaline that you have after a show, it's not really the singing that affects your voice as much, it's afterwards, you're totally on, and then it's really hard to get that sleep. You stay up, talking all night, later the talking all night, turned into smoking all night, and now this is kind of where we're at. We got some dirt on her. You know, the voice can be like a face. It collects wrinkles and it tells a story. If you look at yourself and you go, oh, I didn't have this until this trip. You know, I sat out in the sun or I partied too much or whatever. Your voice does the same thing. It collects dirt.
It's very distinctive. Yeah.
Yes, it gives me away. I mean, I'm pretty much one of the only chicks in LA with a mullet. So that gives me away also.
Well, you're not in the right neighborhood. There's plenty of...
I know, I gotta dry out to the desert, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Go out to Joshua Tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Find the chicks that are tripping.
Exactly.
Yeah, with handmade tattoos.
I have a couple of those too.
But there's something very distinctive about a voice you earned, you know?
It's true. It's kind of like, you know, when you see somebody and I think especially being like a female in the industry, I think growing up and changing and like kind of that, there is such a kind of stigma with aging. It's a very kind of scary thing as a female in the industry. And I thought about it a lot and thought about my voice. I actually had someone, when I was doing an interview a couple months ago, said, you know, she sounds like she stayed up all night smoking too many darts. And I said, well, I fucking have. And that's just the truth. And if, you know, that was anyone else, you know, it's kind of like you're weathered or you're aged or you've been through it. And, you know, we'll talk about it as we go, but over the last year I noticed a really big change in my voice, kind of a heaviness to it. And I experienced some heavy things. And so I feel like it is a reflection. It is kind of a scar in a sense. But also just by having the surgery was kind of a gift also, because I was able to understand my instrument. No one ever explained that to me. You know, I sat in a room with the piano and did scales and shit, but no one taught me about how you have longevity. You know, you are in here with athletes all the time, and recovery days are the most important days. I didn't get recovery days. That was not important for someone that was making so much capital for such a big corporation. You know, the off days are days that money's not coming in, and I definitely probably didn't get the training that I needed to say, hey, you know what, I don't want to do this till I'm 15. I want to do this till I'm 80. And that wasn't always considered. Definitely not complaining. It gave me an amazing launch pad for everything I'm doing now, but I hear it.
But it had to be really odd to be working that much and be a young girl.
The balance it trained me to have is something that I don't think you are going to get taught any other way besides jumping in the deep end of the pool and hoping you know how to swim. That's the only way. There was no way I could have prepared for the amount of balance I would have to learn to kind of teeter. Because, you know, at one point, again, it went from, it was school, then it went from, you know, how much weed can I actually smoke and still play a teenage superstar on the Disney Channel? and then like.
What's the answer to that question?
More than you would fucking think. I remember one time when, and I don't smoke anymore, and I'm sober.
How long have you been sober
but
for?
I've been sober since pretty much the vocal surgery kind of did it for me, because I just learned so much about the effects, which again you're just not taught. It's not really the drinking; it's staying up all night. You know, once you have your drink, you end up smoking, and I have I've become the face of a lot of things, kind of against my will, I guess, from my opinions. When you're someone in my position, your opinion becomes your identity, and it also becomes kind of almost like you kind of become this like preacher. You become this, they don't really let you just always have your own opinion. So I've decided to start telling people, I live my own lifestyle. Alcohol was never my problem. There was other things that I end up, I like to go up. So I now just avoid really drinking because I like to wake up at 110%. But it's never really been my problem, and I could see myself having a drink of celebration in the future. But I get so fucking hungover now that I'm like, why would I celebrate with like just feeling like a volcano's erupted in my brain, So it's really just a personal preference, but it's definitely not anything that I promote in. I think it's a lifestyle everyone should be. I think everyone should experiment. It's a good time, and you learn a lot of things about yourself and the people around you. But now I'm watching. I have younger siblings, and they're going through that, and I don't know how my mom did it with me because it's scary.
Yeah, I think if we're gonna acknowledge the fact that all these things exist, cocaine exists, pills exist, marijuana exists, we should teach people how to do it right.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, you're leaving children. It's the same thing with sex, right?
Yeah.
We leave children to there's the information that they're going to get is from other kids.
Yeah.
And if you're learning about sex from another 14-year-old or you're learning about coke from a 14-year-old, that's not good.
Yeah.
Like we play this game with children where we try to pretend that they live in a movie.
All right, well, listen to this. It's actually funny you bring this up because I had the idea this week. Not that I really have time to do this in the near future, but I would like to at some point in my life. I want to do my own children's book series of realistic children's stories. Because I don't like the idea that we teach them that this is sunshine world and everyone walks on a rainbow and everyone's equal, and you need to say, like, that's not. What are you going to do about it? That's not true. What are you going to do about it? And I think there's a way to not terrify children of life, even though I go in and out of periods where I think life is really overwhelmingly terrifying. And that's coming from my position. And my position, I tell myself all the time, if you're not enjoying this life, honey, you've got it coming in the next one. Because I better fucking love this life. It's the best one. I couldn't imagine being in a different body and having a different experience.
It's an awesome life if you do it the right way.
It's an awesome life. And I didn't hurt myself beyond repair in my experiences. I survived. And I don't even mean heart still beating survival. I mean, I have a lot of people that love me around. I didn't kick all the people that had my best interest at heart out. That's where you die. Is you kick everyone that says, hey, are you okay? Out. No, of course I'm okay. You don't trust, get the fuck out. And so now that I have people that I've had in my life, I feel that I have people in my life that I've known for 15, 20 years, and not many people in my position get to say that. My parents are awesome. My dad's loopy as hell, but I love him so much. He has no way of ever hearing this because my dad doesn't have Wi-Fi or anything but a BlackBerry, so I can tell you what I got for his birthday. My dad has 2 BlackBerries, which equal an iPhone, which is not true, but that's what he says. So for his birthday, he said that he wanted to see if he could go 365 days without eating pizza because he had never done it before. So my dad has now gone a year without having pizza, and my dad loves bubble baths. He's going to kill me for saying this, but his country ass loves bubble baths.
That's hilarious.
And so he loves to smoke his joint, eat his pizza, and get a bubble bath. So he said, that's what I'm going to do for my birthday. So for his birthday, I've organized a 5-foot pizza to be delivered to his farm so he can have all he can eat. And I'm the pizza delivery person on the box. I had someone draw it where it's me with my tongue out and a mullet delivering the pizza. And I got a bathtub on Craigslist. And I put it, my dad has 500 acres, so I put it in the middle of the farm, filled with bubble gum, just like my music video. And so my dad's going to have a bubble gum bathtub and a 5-foot pizza for his birthday.
That's adorable.
That's next week.
I like the fact that he has no Wi-Fi and no internet.
No Wi-Fi, no internet. Every now and then,
feels good that way.
He'll drive to my uncle's house to FaceTime us every now and then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, he used to make a drive to FaceTime.
It's not far. All of us are just like, my dad's kept us a Pebbles throw away, for sure. We all live on property. We all live really close to each other.
So if you did this thing, like if you really decided to do children's books, like realistic children's books, like how would you do that? Would you get a ghost author and sort of come up with the ideas of what you were trying to get across to kids?
Well,
what do you wish somebody told you?
I like that you mentioned that no one talks to us about drugs. I know this is going to be controversial to introduce drugs to kids. I think that there's a way, and I have to think about it, Wayne Coyne, who's a good friend of mine, and I did the Dead Pets record with him. Flaming Lips have been my favorite band since I was in 5th grade, and he's obviously an amazing artist. And he just had his first child, 1.5 years old. He's 60, he just had a baby. They're coming to visit me right now. And I would have him do all the illustrations, so it stays in that kind of surrealist world. So I think that's what would get the kids to want to read this book, is that the illustrations are still surreal. And I like that about children's books. But I do think that we do need to talk about, you know, equality, and I do think there needs to be diversity in children's books. And I think also we just need to talk about the fact, I was actually happy to talk to you today because I didn't get to do therapy today because I would be with you, but it's kind of the same thing. And I was talking to him and I said, you know, sometimes it scares me that I'm too tough. And I feel like I'm not jaded and I'm not cold, but I feel too tough. And he goes, well, I'm proud of that because life is tough. And it's not to get hard.
Well, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by you feel like you don't like that you're too tough?
I feel that I worry sometimes that over things easily. I don't fall to the floor and crawl up in a ball the way that I used to, and I think that's a part of me growing up. Like when, you know, I recently just went through a very public divorce that fucking sucked. What really sucked about it wasn't the fact that me and someone that I loved realized that we don't love each other the way that we used to anymore. That's okay. I can accept that. I can't accept the villainizing and the just all those stories that, like, it's just amazing to me that the public kind of thinks that there's no gap of time that they didn't see that could possibly be what led to this. Like, it's not, one day you were happy on the carpet, and the next day you were making out with your friend in Italy. What the fuck? Well, there was a lot of time in between that you didn't see. It didn't go,
Yeah.
I didn't, you know.
Yeah, but you can't rely on someone else's narrative, right?
No.
Especially someone who doesn't know you. You really shouldn't even read what people write about.
Well, what's crazy is my dad, again, you know, my dad's been a real figure in my life, and my dad, when he got his Grammy nomination, he went to the Grammys in a John 3:16 shirt, and he didn't get the Grammy. And the next day, the New York Post, someone put, even God can't save Billy Ray Cyrus in his career. And he was sitting next to Johnny Cash. They were going to something. I have a Johnny Cash tattoo that was handwritten to my dad from around that time. He said, what the hell, just like you say to me right now, you're my Johnny Cash. You know, he said, what the hell are you doing reading that?
Yeah.
And my dad said, I just never really picked up the paper again. But again, my dad didn't buy that paper. It was just kind of in your face.
You should have thought that was funny.
He does now. Now he just says, well, whatever, will get Johnny Cash to come and sit next to me and talk to me. Now he loves it. And it's been really good to have him go before me. You know, it's kind of that buddy system. I think it'd be really scary if I wouldn't have been able to see that. But to your point of, I don't click on this shit. You know, it comes into my life by, if I
Other
walk
people.
by a magazine
Right.
stand, which I like to walk
Yeah.
on the street, and it says, like, Miley's on drugs and pregnant, and then I think one of those things are true, but not the other. Fuck you for lying about me.
Yeah, but that's all they have. I mean, when someone's in the public eye and someone's as prominent as you are, you become a way for them to access money.
Right.
That's all you are.
Clickbait
Yeah.
advertisement, and
That's
I
it.
totally get it. It's that unprogramming of. Also, I think what's interesting sitting here with you is that all of this is kind of new. I mean, even just like the idea of podcasts. What I used to do when it was like promo time for a record. Okay, so I'm 12 years old and I'm printing physical copies of my album. So I have to write my fucking music, you know, 6 months before you actually. So I just did Dolly's new album for Christmas, and I had to record a Christmas song in July. It was the weirdest thing I've ever done in my life. But when you make physical copies, that's what you do. And you're telling a story from always being behind, especially when it comes to the media. So now what I love about this, what I love doing, you know, a show like yours is like, we're talking about it right now, and people hear it right now, so you're getting the real information. You're not getting information from, all right, I shot a magazine cover, I did an interview, I was la in love with my boyfriend. I mean, that literally happened when I did Vanity Fair. I flew there like a week after I'd gotten married. By the time the damn thing was on the stands, I was divorced. It was old news. It was like, come on, you know, so you're really not able to tell your story in real time, and that's what I love about the new way that music is happening and streaming. And I love the idea that, like, I threw up that Flaming Lips record I did on SoundCloud, and it was like, you know, no one had to buy it, or
Right.
I sound 105, but it's very exciting because I really hated always being behind myself, and I think that's what now I can use my art as my kind of, I guess, the way that I can talk to the press isn't what bothers me. It's kind of the public, you know.
Mhm.
And I got in this habit where when people would meet me, and because I didn't get in the habit, it just became a thing that happened constantly. Was I'd meet someone and they go, "Man, you're not as crazy as I thought you'd be," and I'm like, "Thank you. I don't know what you thought I'd be doing right now. If you thought I'd be in, like, you know, space buns dropping acid or something, but." People say that to me all the time, that I'm not as crazy as they thought I would be, and that's just a weird thing to say to someone.
Yeah, but the public image, like what they sold of you, you know, here you are, Hannah Montana, and then all of a sudden you're this very sexual singer, and you're doing all this crazy stuff, and you're on television shaking your ass, and everybody's seeing that, and they're like, oh, Miley Cyrus is out of control now. She's what? So then that becomes the narrative,
It's
right?
funny when people make the narrative when you become in control that now you're out of it.
Yeah.
That was always really interesting.
Well,
to
it's
me.
also youth, right? Like think about the marriage thing, right? You say Vanity Fair, they write the article, you're deeply in love. By the time it comes out, you're already divorced.
Right.
That's so Hollywood.
Yeah.
I mean, to them, that's like, oh, we've seen this fucking story before.
Yeah.
We know where this is going. Oh, also, you're a child star.
Yeah.
Oh shit, we've seen this story before. And so you get stuck in that narrative too, right? Because
Absolutely.
they want you to fall down the exact same path. They don't want you to
It's a
reinvent
familiar
yourself.
path, yes.
Well, then they'll
Familiar
spell it out
story.
for you. This
Yeah.
is what she's doing.
Now,
She's on drugs and she's pregnant.
I've had to. Now I don't read those types of things, but I've had to unlearn that they're not true. Because sometimes I write things down when I want something to get put into my head. Even if I'm going to have a hard conversation with somebody, usually I kind of write a little mini script for myself, so I kind of know where I don't like going into something with no direction. Where do I want this to go? What are my goals? What do I want? That's what any of your athletes would do. It's like I know that I have that as an artist. I want to have a long career. I have to do the things to be able to have that longevity. And so I would write down, you know, kind of an idea of where I want conversations to go, even with the people in my life, and what do I want out of them. And I had to stop going, hey, just because they wrote that down, it's true. Because something about writing it down gives a lot of power. I don't like to write down things that I don't mean. That's why I don't write songs that I hate, because once you write it down, they are like alive.
So what you're saying is that like reading things that other people wrote about you made you think that those things were real. So
Yeah.
it fucked with your own personal narrative.
Yes.
Like, your
Sometimes I'd be
definition of
trying
yourself.
to prove something that I didn't need to prove. Like all of a sudden I'd be trying to prove that I'm not crazy when I knew I wasn't crazy.
Right.
And yeah, I just think also, I mean, when we're talking about realistic children's books, I think the stigma that kind of surrounds, you know, youth growing up, rebelling, and then craziness, and then what's the line between that and mental illness, and, you know, I do have some kind of genetic family history of alcohol. I mean, that totally gets erased when you're a celebrity. It's like, Hollywood did this to you. It's like, no, dude, my great-grandma was an alcoholic. You know, my granddad was an alcoholic. My grandma's an alcoholic. You know, so I obviously had, it wasn't Hollywood.
All right, I think it's time for a break. Whew, 3.5 hours. I might be up here later. Appreciate you chilling in the studio. Catch you next time. Peace.